Authority. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 5:53. The enabling legislation for the Public Facilities Authority says that 3 members shall constitute a quorum. The members of the meeting that are here, the members of the authority are Tiffany Taylor, Patrick Davenport, Allison Wright, Dexter Fisher, and Carol Myers. Let the record show that everyone is here except for Commissioner Davenport. The purpose of this meeting is to consider the request of the Northeast Georgia Regional Commission to purchase the Northeast Georgia Regional Commission's property back from the Public Facilities Authorities for $10 and to consider any other item proper. The first item of business, the clerk of commission will administer the oath to newly appointed officers as required by Section 4A of the enabling legislation.
If you'll raise your right hand, and I will read the oath of office, after which you'll then say, "I do." I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and honestly discharge the duties of office as a member of the Athens-Clarke County Public Facilities Authority.
I do.
Congratulations.
Great. Let the record show that Commissioner Davenport was here and also took the oath. The next order of business is to elect a chairperson for the 2025, which is a requirement of the enabling legislation. A chairperson election is required each year, and there's no prohibition against reappointment to serve another year as chairman. I would like to ask for a motion for a floor for a chairperson for 2025. After this, they're elected, they'll take over the conduct of the meeting.
I would like to nominate Dexter Fisher.
Okay? Is there a second to that nomination? I'll consider the nominations closed. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Chairperson Fisher, you may now take over the meeting. The next order of business is to elect a secretary.
Thank you, Attorney Drake. At this time, I'd like to elect a secretary, and those records will be kept in the clerk's office pertaining to Section 4D. So do I have a motion on the floor to elect someone as the secretary for the Northeast Georgia Regional Commission?
So moved.
No, I
We got-
motion to
Oh, we got a
elect,
motion second.
No, we got to nominate somebody.
I motion to elect Tiffany Taylor.
I'll second that.
See, you should be quiet.
It has been put on the floor that Commissioner Tiffany Taylor has been nominated to serve as the secretary. It's been second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So right now, we need to approve the minutes of July 6, 2010 minutes. And
Motion to approve.
Clerk sent those out earlier for everybody.
can I get a second?
Second.
It has been motioned by Commissioner Wright, second by Commissioner Taylor, that the minutes of July 6, 2010 be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. At this particular time, we have public input. If you wish to address the Mayor Commission on any item listed below on the agenda, please go to the podium, state your name and address. Rules of the commission state that members of the public may speak once during the following portion of the agenda, is up to 3 minutes with a 30-second reminder at 2.5 minutes. The next item, do we have anybody from the public that'd like to speak on item H?
I don't recognize him.
I'm not gonna recognize you, Commissioner Hamby. No, but seriously, if you want to speak, you're more than happy. Okay, come to the podium. Seriously? Okay. Our next item,
There's somebody in the back.
oh, I'm sorry,
What item did you say?
H,
Public Facilities Authority.
yes. It's not on the regular agenda. This is a special call meeting. Seeing no one from the public that want to speak on item H, I'd like to consider request from the Northeast Georgia Regional Commission to purchase the Northeast Georgia Regional Commission property back from the Public Facilities Authority for $10. Can I get a motion for that, please?
I have a question. Can we get a clarification on the address?
Yes, the address is 305 Research Drive is the location of the property. And just as a brief background for the public, on or about September 19, 2007, the Northeast Georgia Regional Development Center, which is now known as the Northeast Georgia Regional Commission, entered into a lease agreement with the Athens-Clarke County Public Facilities Authority in connection with a transaction whereby the Public Facilities Authority issued revenue bonds to the Northeast Georgia Regional Commission backed by the Unified Government of Athens-Clarke County to finance the renovation of the Northeast Georgia Regional Commission's office building located at 305 Research Drive. Pursuant to the terms of the lease, upon repayment of those bonds, which have been repaid in full, the Northeast Georgia Regional Commission has the right under Section 7.05 and 7.07 of the lease agreement to purchase its property back from the Public Facilities Authority for $10.
So there's can I get a motion to approve item H?
So moved.
Second.
It's been approved, motion by Commissioner Davenport, second by Commissioner Taylor. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Are there any other items that we need to consider before we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Not to my knowledge.
Got a motion to adjourn, can I get a second?
Second.
Go ahead, Karen.
Second. Go.
The Athens-Clarke County Public Facility Authority meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Evening, everyone. It's Tuesday, August 19th, 2025, and we are here for the monthly agenda-setting meeting of the Athens-Clarke County Mayor and Commission. There are going to be several opportunities for public input tonight that I'll describe in just a minute. But first, we're going to go ahead and read our civility pledge provided to us by the Georgia Municipal Association. This is the work that we care about, and so we want to do it well. So the way we govern ourselves is often as important as the positions we take. Our collective decisions will be better when differing views have had the opportunity to be fully vetted and considered. All people have the right to be treated with respect, courtesy, and openness. We value all input, and we commit to conduct ourselves at all times with civility and courtesy to each other. We're going to have public input tonight, first on the consent agenda, which currently are items 1 through 5. Then we'll have individual public input after a staff presentation on each of the 2 planning and zoning items, and then we will have public input on new business. Public input for the meeting tonight will be a 3-minute opportunity for each of those segments. You see a light in front of the clerk. It will turn green when you begin speaking. It will turn yellow when you have 30 seconds remaining, and it will turn red when your 3 minutes has expired, and we'll thank you for your time with us tonight. I want to turn to the commission very quickly and ask, is there any item that a commissioner would like to move from the consent agenda for discussion? I want to recognize Commissioner Wright. All right, so we'll,
Number 1.
all right, and number 1, Commissioner Myers, we'll move to discussion also. Any others?
Number 7?
Yeah, 7, yeah, 7's on discussion as it's
No.
a zoning item.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Would any member of the public like to provide input on items 3, 4, or 5 at this time? 3, 4, or 5? All right. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and we get a staff presentation on each of our planning and zoning items. And move so the screen can come down. Planning Director Bruce Lonnie will join us, as is his pleasure. Bruce, good to have you here. Item number 6 is several addresses over on Puritan Lane.
All right, thank you. So the first item, zoning item that we had this evening, is a plan development request. This was heard, both of these items tonight were heard at the August 7th Planning Commission meeting. The addresses involved for these parcels are 1030, 1040, and 1060 Macon Highway, 100, 104, 110, 120, 140, and 150 Puritan Lane. The purpose of the request is to allow for a multifamily development and also for an increase in density. The property is currently zoned RM1. The request is to go to RM2 with the plan development, which carries with it a binding plan and a binding report. The development scheme includes 70 townhouse-style units. This development would recombine the 9 separate parcels into one roughly 9.5 acre tract. That 9.5 acres would also involve the abandonment of Puritan Lane to be added to the development site. There is a waiver requested as well. The applicant is asking for a reduction of the required conserved tree canopy. In staff's analysis, we didn't find any support for that waiver, but we'll get into the request here a little bit with some images. This is the location. Where the black arrow is on the screen is Puritan Lane. This is the section of public right-of-way right now that is requested to be abandoned and incorporated into the development site. You can see the lots, series of narrow, deep lots that all have housing of some sort on them right now. Those homes were originally affiliated with the Puritan Mill. They were mill homes. Those homes would be removed as part of this development scheme. Future land use would not change. It's mixed-density residential now, and that would remain the same. And then this slide shows the zoning request change from RM1 to RM2 with that PD designation on it as well. This is the submitted site plan that came with the application. The area in green that is highlighted is an access easement that would be used jointly by both public utilities to reach the sewer trunk line that is immediately to the west of this and kind of by the loop. And then in the upper corner, you see an extension, not really upper corner, but towards the northwest lot line, you see an extension that goes over towards property that Athens-Clarke County owns, sometimes referred to as the Barber Creek Battle Site. This is something that the applicant has agreed to provide for leisure services to use at a point in the future for access to that property. They've also agreed to a number of parking spaces, 5 parking spaces, that are shown in this parking area immediately adjacent to that access point. This would allow access off of Macon Highway into the site for both leisure services personnel that may need to access Barber Creek for maintenance, but also public utility staff to provide maintenance on the sewer line. Architectural elevations that have been submitted. These are representative of what they would propose. Very similar to what has been developed to the southwest of this site on the other side of Puritan Lane, which was developed by the applicant previously. Other elevations that were submitted. Planning Commission recommendation. In their review, they found that the request is partially compatible with the 2023 comprehensive plan. It does increase the housing supply, but doesn't introduce any kind of variety of housing type for the area. It's very consistent with what's immediately to the southwest. They also found that it's partially compatible with the future land use map and the zoning map. The key distinction that the Planning Commission discussed in their deliberation was this request is going from RM1, which is 16 beds to the acre, to RM2, which is 24 beds to the acre. That's a 50% increase in density. Right now, the way our inclusionary zoning ordinance is set up is that 50% increase in density is allowed by right. You would just work through the ordinance to do that, and it would involve setting aside affordable units or working through the payment in lieu process. Planning Commission found in their discussion that using the inclusionary zoning process really removes the need for the rezone. They also found that the PD request is asking for additional density with very modest public benefit being returned. And they found that it was incompatible with the future land use character with regard to access to transit. So Planning Commission's recommendation is for denial. Regarding the waiver request for the 25% minimum conserved tree canopy, the request from the applicant was to go to 17% of conserved canopy, and Planning Commission did not support the waiver request. So that was also recommended for denial. And that concludes the staff report. Well, hold on. No, it doesn't. Let me slow down. If the body were to find that this development could be approved, both staff and the Planning Commission recommend that there are 4 conditions that we would ask you to take into consideration. The first being that the plans be amended to resolve some corrective action issues, some code compliance issues that were detailed in the staff report. The second condition involves providing that access for leisure services. There are some details regarding that access easement to make it more feasible to actually be used. Most notably, make it follow a contour line so there's not as much grading. Instead of going like this, you could kind of go flat. That would change the easement from what was shown on the master plan slightly. That the 5 parking spaces shown not be compact spaces as shown, but be standard size spaces. that the developer would work with the park planning office to develop and install signage for those spaces, that sidewalk be extended to provide a pedestrian walkway from the parking area to the access easement with a bike rack to be provided, and a 6-foot wide curb cut in the easement to allow for utility vehicles to enter for maintenance purposes. Third condition, that the applicant shall design and install a pedestrian crossing across Macon Highway in conformance with transportation and public works standards as well as Athens transit standards to provide pedestrian access to the transit stop that is on Macon Highway. And then the fourth condition is regarding the abandonment of Puritan Lane. So that condition reads as follows. Abandonment of Puritan Lane be authorized by the Planning Commission, by the Commission of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, in accordance with the laws of the state of Georgia and confirmation of the applicant's ownership of the abandoned portion. No permits, except permits for demolition of the existing structures, shall be issued until the abandonment and confirmation of applicant's ownership are complete. And now that ends the staff report.
Thanks, Bruce. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak to this application? Please make sure you fill out one of the input cards and just put it in the box for us if you have opportunity to speak tonight. Anyone tonight? Just let us know your name and place of residence.
Good evening. My name is Blake Underwood. I am with the applicant. It's good to see you all again. I live at 160 Stanton Way in Athens. We're excited to bring this project before you today. This is essentially phase 2 of the project that we developed 2 years ago, which has been successful and very well received by the community. Many of you provided feedback of how beautiful phase 1 is already. Phase 2 will have essentially the same look and feel. I'd like to point out the community benefits to bringing this project to fruition. Abandoning Puritan Lane, number 1. This is a substandard road that no longer services anyone other than us. This eliminates the maintenance burden for the county forever. These maintenance funds will be better served in other areas. We are providing access through our project for the future maintenance of the sewer main at Barber Creek. All ACC departments are very excited about Puritan Lane going away. Abandonment was also allows for a nice interconnection of Phase 1 and Phase 2, which is one of the stated goals in the 2023 comprehensive plan. Number 2, per Leisure Services request, we're providing access and parking to the adjacent 12-acre ACC tract for a future park or trails. Currently, the only access is through the swamp down at the end, well past Puritan Lane's dead end, which is basically no access to this tract at all. Number 3, currently there are not continuous sidewalks all the way down Macon Highway. We will be adding a pedestrian crossing across Macon Highway, which will improve the pedestrian access along the corridor. Number 4, adding additional housing stock. There was an article in the paper this week stating that a study showed Athens needs an additional 6,000 units. You may agree or disagree with this very large number, but keep in mind we're only adding 70 units. Number 5, we are not changing a community or a corridor. Look at Macon Highway. It is dominated by student housing and has been for a long time. Athens Ridge, Puritan Mill, the flats at Puritan Mill, River Club Apartments, Bulldog Crossing, Woodlawn, Linden Lane, which I'll remind you was approved for RM3 zoning just last year, just to name a few. We're asking for a moderate density increase in an area that is already student-oriented. RM2 is compatible with the current future land use map and compatible with the proposed new future land use map that you guys are working on. Simply put, build more student housing where students are already located. Why not use the inclusionary zoning? The topography is very challenging on this site, which makes it very expensive to develop. We have rock to contend with as well. With interest rates and construction costs where they are today, the market rate rents have to be really high to support the affordable units. We're not building high-end units that rent for $1,500 to $2,000 per bed,
Thank you,
like
Mr.
properties
Underwood.
closer to downtown.
Thanks for coming tonight. I appreciate it.
So,
Is there anyone else here to speak to the submission? Good evening.
Hey, good evening. My name's Frank Pittman with Pittman and Greer Engineering. I live at 1400 Saxon Road in Watkinsville. I am here representing the developers as well, and just wanted to kind of quickly touch on a couple of comments on the staff report. As Bruce mentioned, there are some suggested conditions which we are completely fine with. The conversation with Leisure Services didn't come up. They didn't reach out until a day before the plan had to come back in, or we would have worked through the modifications on the plan that they wanted before it came to you guys, but we were out of time. So all those conditions we're fine with. There were a couple comments about a suggestion maybe that going with smaller number of units in a building would be better and require less grading. It's actually just the opposite of that. If you went with three units in a building, which is suggested, you've got a building separation between each of those, and it significantly increases the amount of area being developed. The tree canopy waiver, I'll quickly touch on. The code requires a conserved canopy of 25%. We're requesting 17%. This is for a number of reasons. One being the existing topography is very steep. So we've got a lot of tie-in grade slopes, but this also includes the existing right-of-way of Puritan Lane, which doesn't have any trees in it. So that we're overcoming that area that's going from zero, that's going into the total too. So that decreases the overall. We are providing 10% more than the required overall canopy, and would be happier even to increase that if so. If you guys wanted that, but, a canopy waiver could have been requested administratively. That's the only waiver that we're even requesting. And so we brought this as a PD to you guys so y'all know what we're building. Instead of a straight rezone, the plan, we feel like meets the zoning code as is, other than a tree canopy waiver. But we didn't want to bring a straight rezone because we wanted you guys to feel good about knowing what was coming. I guess I'll end on mentioning that, there's been a lot of talk about housing, and there's been a lot of talk about sewer in this community. This is actually one of the very few places in the county where there is significant amount of sewer capacity. There are a lot of areas where housing can't be built because there's no more sewer capacity. There's a lot of capacity in this line. It's a good area to try to develop, and we're just asking to really just increase the existing development. I hope you guys support tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pittman. Is there anyone else here to speak to this submission tonight?
Commissioners, thank you for your time this evening. My name is Jeff Kuhn with Stratus Development Group at 2025 South Millage Avenue. We come tonight to ask for your support in lightly upzoning a property already zoned for multifamily use. The proposed use aligns with both the current and the proposed future land use map, and also aligns well with the predominant multifamily use in the area. What's being offered are several community benefits in exchange for the slight increase in density. First off, the activation of a 12-acre city park. Currently, the county owns a 12-acre parcel directly next to this property that has no access and no parking. We are agreeing to both allow access and to provide parking for this 12-acre park. This could be a game changer for that part of town and the neighborhood around it, as the closest city park is 1.5 miles away. If you want an additional city park in town, we ask for your support. More quality housing. The first phase was a resounding success, and we are one of the highest rated communities in town. As reported in the flagpole last week, the housing crisis is certainly not over. If you want additional quality housing units in town, we ask for your support. Preservation of homes. We have agreed to work with the city to relocate the existing homes on the property for even more housing stock and affordable housing in town. If you want to do even more affordable units in town, we ask for your support here. Cost savings. As part of the proposal, we are offering to take over the maintenance of Puritan Lane, thus saving the county potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars over time. If you're looking to save the county money that could be redeployed elsewhere, we ask for your support. In summary, we believe the project fits with the area, aligns with county goals, and provides a way for us to work together with additional community benefits. We humbly ask for your consideration and support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kuhn. Is there anyone else here to speak to this evening? All right, we'll come for discussion. It's in District 7, so Commissioner Culpepper, I'll let you kick us off.
Yeah, so, we've talked about increasing density, and this is a student housing area. So, it's one thing when you're trying to increase density within a residential area. This is not. This is student housing all up and down Macon Highway. And we're running into a space issue, and we're going to have to increase density. So why not increase it where we can increase the student housing, where it's not, instead of having them move into our single-family residential homes. Also, they mentioned about moving the mill houses. We're trying to figure out a way to move those mill houses to, we've been working with several different people about moving those to county-owned property and using funding from the Affordable Housing Fund to create affordable houses, housing units for those mill houses. So to me, it's a win. You're preserving the old houses and you're creating affordable housing if we can get that worked out. Yeah, they are cutting down, they are taking some of the tree canopy. They're requesting a waiver, so you're losing 8%, but if you look at the big picture, you're gaining a 2% net with what they're putting back, and they just mentioned if they needed to put more back, they would. Also, the existing entrance, Bruce, can you show the existing entrance to Phase 1?
Well, where it sits on the screen?
Yeah,
Is that
so, well, Phase 1 is down below. And so there's an entrance out of there. There's only one, and that was designed by the county. But also, the road coming up right there where the green, that's the exit of Puritan Lane coming out onto Macon Highway. And I don't know if y'all have been out there, but it's a hill and a curve, so it's a dangerous curve. So they would be redoing that, and so it'd be a safer entrance and exit out, and creating another one in from the other complex also. And we talked about, the inclusionary zoning, and with the way the land lays and, based on interest rates and construction costs, it's not affordable to do it here. And I don't know if that's the best place to create affordable housing in the middle of a student housing complex. If it's in town where there's more services around it, that might be a better solution for inclusionary zoning. And also, like they mentioned, the rents are higher on complexes in in-town developments, and so that affords them to be able to have inclusionary zoning to offset the cost. Because right here, you've got increased costs, you've got a lot of different grade that you're going to have to deal with, and construction costs, that there's not enough room to for the inclusionary zoning, the lower rents, to make the numbers work.
Commissioner Wright.
Yeah, thanks. Bruce, can you help me with the tree canopy numbers that I'm hearing? I heard, and maybe the difference is existing percentage versus new percentage. Can you explain what is currently proposed with the canopy?
So the way that this site plan works would be, the 25% is for conserved canopy, not the overall.
Okay.
And so the waiver that they were requesting was to dip 8% below that. And that was largely driven by the grading and the topo on site to have to manage that. So the compensatory amount, there would be new planting to get to the percentage that code required. So the overall canopy, as proposed, would meet code.
Okay.
It was the amount of conserved canopy, the older growth trees, that they wanted the waiver to not have to keep as
Okay,
much.
so the 25% was our expectations for preserved canopy.
That's right.
They're asking for 17,
That's right.
and then overall canopy with the new plantings the finish has a net gain.
The overall would meet code.
But Nick,
That's correct.
Okay. And then, can you find one of these pictures that's going to help orient me to where the park is and potentially where the Confederate monument was moved? I'm having a hard time getting oriented,
Yeah.
and maybe
Tim-
where that 12 acres is, because
So,
isn't the monument with it?
Timothy Place.
Okay.
The monument is at the end, adjacent to the 10 loop.
Okay, so when this says entrance ramp up there, it's really the loop?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what's messing me up.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
So the labeling at the top of the different drawings should just say Loop 10?
Correct.
Okay, so then that would be
Yeah,
where the
that's
monument is. And
the
then,
loop, but yeah.
is there one of these that would be showing our parcel, which is, go down to the one that has two,
That's it.
duh, okay. And then, so then how is that lining up with that parking? Because parking seems to me like it's up in the other corner.
So here, the Barber Creek battle site kind of extends this way as well. Let's just make sure, that line's correct.
Okay.
That's the correct line.
Okay, so there's
So,
where the
Yeah, the
connectivity
parking
would be.
right about here.
Okay. And, but yet that government parcel is not connected to where the parcel with the monument is.
That's correct.
There's a gap in that whoever owns that gold property.
That's correct. The church has this property
Oh,
here.
the church, okay. All right. I think that covers what I
Commissioner
needed
Fisher?
help understanding. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. So, I'm looking at this project, and I hate when we use multifamily, because this really is student housing. I'm assuming is that right from our developers, this is student housing. So, one thing that we're wrestling with as a community, we're building more and more student housing, and we got more vacancies than we have had. And I'm not sure whether or not our developers, and this is all developers, did you have a conversation with UGA about how much they're gonna grow? And they're not gonna go to 50,000, what people think they are. They're gonna cap it, and they're gonna do more onlining degrees and things of that nature. I'm concerned, as we look at our future, we continue to go down this path, we're gonna have more student housing, and as our students do, they go to the shiniest and best thing looking. Then you start getting areas that start, become dilapidated or either abandoned because we can't keep up with the demand, or there won't be much of a demand. So I'm just looking at it from that perspective. It is student housing run all down Macon Highway. So that's one of my concerns, and I really wish developers would have a conversation with UGA. We have had those conversations, and building more student housing is not something that I believe is our future. So I support, I'll work with John on this, but we got to get out of this thing that we need more student housing, because we really don't. And that's not what I see. So I say all that to say I struggle with this, and we add more density. I mean, you can build with an RM1 and get what you want. I understand you do more density because you make more money. I mean, and I understand that you're in the business of making money, but you can build by right or RM1. So my question would be, why build more when we really don't need more? So.
Commissioner Link?
Yeah, so I don't necessarily have a problem with the bump in density. I have mixed feelings about the idea of building more student housing. I mean, in my mind, every student you take out of one of our residential neighborhoods and put into a community that is not connected to your residential neighborhood is a good thing. One of my big concerns here is the loss of all those historic mill cottages. You have what is effectively existing modest middle-class housing, historic middle-class housing. I'd really love to see a creative approach to these properties that turned it into something of a cottage court. I know the grading, the topo is pretty whack out there. So yeah, I mean, on its surface, it seems, like a reasonable thing, but I have mixed feelings. And I also do kind of question the appropriateness of encouraging more student housing in this location. Every single one of those kids is gonna have to get in their car to get onto campus. There's no bus out there.
Yeah, there's,
Yeah.
they're gonna make a
Is there-
crosswalk to the bus stop.
Okay. Yeah, I question how many of them will actually take it.
Commissioner
I don't
Thorne?
see a lot of students on the bus I take.
I just wanted to chime in about the mill houses. There was a conversation about the mill houses that was going on as far as March in the past about moving them. It never came to a public discussion with the commission. Right now, I don't know if I can call you Bob in public. Right now, Bob is working with us, or working with John and I, to look at, to demolish those houses, to me, is sinful. One, because they're historic. The same people who were upset about the Say building, they should come down here and raise hell about those mill houses. Second is because if you demolish them, it contradicts everything that we're saying about affordable housing. We're going to demolish housing that could be moved or used. And to me, that is very contradictory. So I hope, as far as the mill houses are concerned, that we can find a solution, because it is one step closer to preserving a historic house that could be affordable.
Commissioner Myers?
Yeah, if there is any information on those mill houses in general, like when the last time they were lived in, the condition, what needs to be done to make them habitable again, that would be helpful to know in this discussion of moving it. But what I'd like from Planning Director Bruce is help me understand why the commission, the Planning Commission and the Planning Department both vote, I know you guys didn't vote, but the Planning Commission to deny this from R1 to RM2, when last month they, and I can't remember what you Planning Department did, but the Planning Commission voted to approve the RM1 to RM2 on Pinecrest. So that was a change. So like, how does the thinking work on that? Why was there an approval put forward last time, but this time they all voted to deny this, I think? Did they all vote to deny it? Yeah, they all voted to deny it.
Well, I guess context is the reason. The two different locations, the other example, not that it really has a bearing on this particular deliberation, but I think academically thinking through RM1 to RM2, where that request is taking place and the size of the parcel matters. So in this instance, we have more land to work with. There is more development opportunity for creativity with the design. It's not pinched by the size. In the case of the other location, it was close to a number of destinations. It just had a different context. So I think that's at the heart of the difference between the two.
Are there limitations in the topography here where there's a bunch of topography that is not really usable because of the incline?
The applicant gave testimony at the Planning Commission meeting about that very thing. That there is significant topography on site, and that's why they have the grading program that they have to level it. And that is also part of the scheme for the type of buildings they want to build, trying to minimize the number of retaining walls and that type of thing. But they did address that.
Can I ask the applicant, like, how much of the property is not usable? from your, estimation here?
I mean, I guess I would say, I don't know that any of it is unusable. As you get to the northwestern side where we stop, that's where the slopes get very steep. I mean, we could use that, but then you may put a 30-foot retaining wall, but that's, we're also up against conserved tree canopy, which was the waiver we
Right.
requested, and that's why we're requesting that waiver, because we're having to grade all that.
But you are using most of, that outline I see is the whole property, so you are using a lot of the property.
We're using the best parts of it, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Patrick?
Yes, thank you. So, no, I agree with Commissioner Culpepper that this is a good location for students. And I'm taking a more selfish approach to get students out of our residential neighborhoods and get them into student housing, because I know in my district, I'm seeing a lot of students moving into RS zones, but this is a prime location where all the students literally live, and it is on the bus line. I do have a question about the traffic though, because we're seeing a lot of growth in that area. Is there any future plans possible for more frequent bus or widen the roads? That's one question. I do like what Puritan Mill Phase 1 did, except the fact that I get the topography, they clear cut it, the entire property. But I know there's some terrain issues with the potential Phase 2, but I love my trees. There's some spots that you can just throw some trees somewhere. It's hot in Georgia. Even the college students don't want to bake in the sun, but I'm just having some issues with the trees. But I get the topography, but there's some space in the back, even though without a retaining wall, because trees can pretty much grow on any topography. Hopefully no major storms come through though. Question about if this is possible. After briefly listening to the planning commission. So the mill houses, 8 of them. The government owns property to the north. Could we partner with a nonprofit and move those 8 houses to the government property and have the nonprofit manage them, rehab them, and preserve them? Could that be a condition on the property that they partner with somebody, or does that pose some legal barriers?
At least one component you may want to think about, Commissioner Davenport, is the nature of that former battle site. One of the things that people have been interested in as an interpretive site location is that there was sort of a unique set of trenches that were dug there that apparently were later the model for the way that trenches were dug in World War I on the fields of Belgium. And so kind of from an historical perspective, the desire would be to kind of use that as an interpretive site. And so I would suspect that some grading would be necessary and you would lose that historical component on the site.
That's it?
But theoretically, though, yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Myers?
I did just want to note for all of us that, I just was looking on the map at the next, there's all this stuff about, like, this is all student housing. And so I did look at the map at the next street over, which is Kings Mill Run. And of course, I couldn't bring it up in our Q Public because I guess it's Oconee County. But that is a residential neighborhood right there. So just so we know that there, it's not like it's all student housing. And they look like fairly, modest homes in contrast to homes that are really expensive. So,
All right. Some more
some of them are
contemplation.
duplexes, but I saw some of them aren't. Okay.
I think Johnson had her.
Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of quick points. On June 3rd, I want to talk about this project first from the lens of when you read the report from the Planning Commission. I've noticed a lot of the reports lately have subjective language, not factual language, not objective language. It's more of an opinion, and I want us to be mindful of that. I think variety is less important for student housing because it fits a different needs. Certainly, variety is important in a single-family home unit or multifamily home unit, but this is not that. This is an area that is majority student housing, and I want to remind everybody that there was a vote on June 3rd where there were commissioners who did not have a problem increasing student housing in an area where student housing was already built. So I want to just remind the folks watching, you can't have a problem June 3rd, not have a problem on June 3rd, and have a problem with it today. We owe it to our residents to be consistent with our decision making. This is an apples to apples comment. And to say that from the Planning Commission, well, the lots are bigger. We expect them to have more creative designs. That's not their call. The Planning Commission doesn't own the property. The Planning Commission can't determine what the creativity is. If the best use of the property is deemed to be student housing, that's up to the builder. I think the majority of people tonight does not have a problem with student housing. I do think the property, the mill houses that are there should be relocated. And if individuals, the residents watching, will pay attention to the the August 12th work session where Melinda Lord, the Housing and Community Development Director, stated that these onesie and twosie parcels could be used for homes. Athens-Clarke County owns a lot of parcels, but we are not earning any revenue on them. This is an opportunity to do that if we move them to a property that Athens-Clarke County already owns. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. One more presentation. We're going to go on to item number 7.
All right. The next item is for 585 Vine Street, Units 1 through 5. This is an amendment to an existing PD. This was also heard August 7th by the Planning Commission. The request is to amend the existing CNPD plan development to change the binding site plan on the south side of that PD, the south side of Nellie B, with an intended use of a teaching kitchen and outdoor community space, a decrease in the impervious coverage to add a community garden. There are no exterior building changes proposed as part of the application, and the parking lot would be rebuilt to meet current code standards for parking dimensions and access. Here's an aerial view of the properties in question. So the PD covers everything that's in red, straddles either side of Nellie B Avenue. The area that we're looking at this evening is on the south side of Nellie B. Here's a closer view of that property as it appeared 4 years ago. It's remarkably similar today. So existing zoning is commercial neighborhood PD, and that would remain just with this amendment. Future land use as well would remain. So in 1996, this site has considerable history. In 1996, there was a plan development adopted that's on the screen. 2 sides of Nellie B, as we have today. Site A is on the north side, Site B is on the south. Site B is what we're talking about this evening. I do want to note that Site A has had amendments in the past, one in 2010 and one in 2016, both of which were to enlarge the building on Site A to accommodate some of the tenant needs that were requested, and those were both approved. The current request is this plan that you see. The garden, the community garden space, is to the west in the point there on the left-hand side of the screen. The parking lot would be reconfigured, restriped, put in better position to meet code, particularly with regard to ADA compliant spaces, handicap accessible spaces. There would be a net reduction of 3 parking spaces total from what's there today. But the uses that are proposed inside of the structure generate a need for the 18 and not more. So In staff's evaluation of this, there was not a shortage of parking for what was proposed to be occurring inside the building. So I wanted to have a side-by-side comparison of the existing 1996 PD, which is still in effect today, and what's proposed. The proposed is on the left, 1996 is on the right. What you see there is that the building has not changed. The proposal that is in front of us now has more landscaping, does considerably more when you include the community garden, and does provide arguably safer access into the site because it has now channelized that access off of Vine Street, has removed the curb cut that's on Nellie B, that's called out as number 2 on the 1996 plan, and it also makes for 1 pedestrian crossing rather than the 2 that were originally anticipated. Here's a view of the corner. So just behind the sign that says Triangle Plaza is the area that would be community garden, where you see the pedestrian walking on the left-hand side. That curb cut would be closed, and we would get the sidewalk extended around to connect in a code-compliant way over to Vine Street. Planning Commission's recommendation, they found that this request was compatible with the 2023 comprehensive plan. Does help encourage the creation of publicly accessible gathering spaces within neighborhoods. It's compatible with future land use map, zoning map, and zoning ordinance, and that the amendment proposed will not adversely impact any parcels within the PD. And that concludes the staff report.
Thanks, Bruce. Is there any member of the public here to speak to this tonight?
Good evening. My name is Buck Bacon. I work for W&A Engineering. Our office is located at 355 Oneida Street here in Athens, Georgia. And I'm here speaking on behalf of the applicant, East Athens Wellness Experience and Farm to Neighborhood. This project proposes to convert a significant portion of paved parking to a new community garden, including new street trees, improved pedestrian connections throughout the block, defined parking areas, curb and gutter, proposed new stormwater management facilities for the remaining impervious areas, and converts the existing interior space into a teaching kitchen and classroom for the Farm to Neighborhood, Healthy Youth, and the East Athens Wellness Experience programs. Overall, the proposed PD amendment reduces the site's impervious area by 41%, plants 22 new trees, and creates 14,200 square feet of new tree canopy, and improves this critical community node. We're obviously excited about this project, and we're proud of the great things that Rashi and her team at Farm to Neighborhood have accomplished to date, and we're really looking forward to seeing more great things to come from their efforts. We appreciate staff's report and Planning Commission's recommended approval of the project. So tonight, we respectfully ask for your support and ultimately your approval of the proposed PD amendment, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bacon. Is there any other member of the public here to speak to this tonight? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Tammy Foote, and I live at 223 Fairview Street, right down the street from the Iron Triangle. The purpose of the 1996 PD, it was pitched as a way to stabilize the East Athens neighborhood, to attract neighborhoods serving businesses and encourage revitalization without displacing our residents. It locked into a binding site plan so the community could trust that the development would remain consistent with those revitalization goals. As far as the community focus, the PD was meant to be a balance, creating opportunities for small businesses and service within walking distance for the residents while protecting the surrounding community, which is the fabric such as the traffic, parking, and the noise scale. What's being ignored now is, number one, the binding site plan predictability. A PD is supposed to be stricter than the standard zoning because it's customized with neighborhood input, which there wasn't any viable input from the community regarding this amendment. Amending it multiple times weakens the predictability, which small change sets precedents for future piecemeal adjustments, undermining the original 1996 commitment. Number 2, the revitalization versus the repurposing. The 1996 PD intent was economic revitalization and job creation for local residents. The current amendment, the teaching kitchen and garden, may be positive in concept, but it doesn't clearly tie to measurable local business growth and the minority ownership opportunities or neighborhood hiring. And number 3, the community voice. The original PD process involved explicit promises to the community. If amendments move forward with limited outreach, it looks like the neighborhood is being left out and out of the decisions that were supposed to center them. This is what we fight for every day in our community. Whatever she does with the PD that she currently has is fine, but changing the PD, it would definitely destroy our neighborhood and open us up for more gentrification. The back of my shirt says, "Don't make us the next Lennon Town." If this is approved, that's where we're headed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Foote. Is there anyone else here to speak to this proposal tonight? All right, we'll come to discussion. It's in District 3, Commissioner Taylor.
We have,
Come on down.
Going on slowly, I had a little bit of surgery this morning, but I felt like it was important enough to get myself down here.
Good evening.
Excuse me, something in the air is not agreeing with my throat. I want to start by saying that a scripture went through my head, and that scripture was, first of all, good evening, everybody. My mama taught me better manners than that. In Revelation, the books were open. Yes, God keeps books, and the name of those whose names were not found in the book of life were cast in the lake of fire to everlasting damnation and torment. Now that's God's message. Now this is what we have to say. Who goes to market without money or to build without proper tools? I want you guys to remember that. So I say to you, Mayor and Commissioners, it's that simple concerning the zoning at 585 Vine Street. Who buys a property without knowing what is allowed, without looking up the present PD on the property, then come before planning and you and ask for a change to it, meaning the zoning? I'm going to digress for a minute. Last week, at least 4 ladies came before you, pleading that that zoning not to be changed in their neighborhood, coming against money people and builders. Even after the planning approved all the requests to rezone, all were turned down by this very body, no less than what we're asking here tonight to turn it down. Someone else from our association has already spoken about what the 1996 PD was about and why it intentionally planned it that way. The planned rezonings were no less a promise to us to stabilize and help us grow, to prosper by having some amenities that larger, more affluent neighborhoods have. Now back to the right now. Without money, who goes to market without money, or who goes to build without the right tools? This is what is happening with this rezoning request. The owner, Ms. Rashi Malcolm, bought a property without due diligence as its use and now wants to make our community, our neighbors, pay for her mistake. We don't believe we owe her that. You know we don't owe her that. And without a doubt, you who sit here as a body know that also. Yet she's asking you to come into agreement with her. We pray you will not punish our community for her mistake. To continue her proposed project, she wants you to change the PD at our detriment. Although when she sought the state's money for her project, she should have known or researched. It is not our community's fault, but if you approve this today, that's what you're saying. It's our fault. This is not our punishment. This is the punishment that you will be meting out to us because...
Ma'am, your 3 minutes has expired. I just
Thank
need you
you.
to read your name for the clerk for the record, though. I just need you to read your name for the clerk.
I'm sorry, my name is Willa Fambro, and I live at 1053 Spring Valley Road. Thank
Ms.
you.
Fambro. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Shanice Allen, and I live at 130 Meredith Ridge Road. I am speaking against the proposed amendment to the planned development at 585 Vine Street. In 1996, this planned development was created with a promise to keep our community a community, to bring neighborhood-serving businesses, and to revitalize East Athens without pushing out the residents who already live there. The bonding site plan was a protection for us. It was stability, predictability, and trust. Now we're being asked to change or amend it again. Not because the community asked, but because a property owner and her grant writer used a capstone project and applied for a grant without first making sure their plan could actually be done under the current zoning. They are now asking the county to rewrite the PD so that their $2 million project can fit. This is not the community's responsibility. When you buy property, you follow the rules that come with it. You don't buy a car too big for your driveway, park it on the grass, and ask the HOA to change its rules. Yet, that's exactly what's happening here. Allowing this amendment sets a dangerous precedent. Today is a teaching kitchen and a garden, but tomorrow it could be apartments, student housing, higher land values, and families priced out. That is the opposite of what that 1996 PD promised. This is just the beginning. The amendment to the PD opens the door. We've seen this before. On agenda item number 16 and 21 from the last commissioners meeting, rezoning was denied because the developer should have known what they purchased. Not my words, but yours. This is the same situation, but it's across the river in inner East Athens. Let's be consistent. If it wasn't right then, it isn't right now. If the grant doesn't fit the zoning, the property owner should work with the governor's office, not ask Athens-Clarke County to rewrite the rules that have protected our neighborhood for nearly 30 years. The bottom line, this amendment does not fulfill the 1996 PD spirit, does not guarantee revitalization or opportunity, and puts private interests above and ahead of the community. I urge you to deny this amendment and uphold the promise made to East Athens 30 years ago. We want to keep our community a community. This has been our fight daily. The future of inner East Athens lies in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. Is there anyone else here to speak to this proposal tonight? Anyone else? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Amy Cassane. I live at 526 Highland Avenue. I'm here in my capacity as the Corporate Citizenship Coordinator for Better Communities Collaborative and WNA Engineering, and I want to express my strong support for this PD amendment. I first became involved with Rashi and Farm to Neighborhood in the fall of 2022 when our company offered to help her with the grant application that has now resulted in this project. I worked with Rashi and her board, and we submitted the application. It was actually November 2022. Can't believe it's been that long. It was announced that we were awarded in May of 2023, and since that time, I have been responsible for the grant management, reports, reimbursement requests, all that stuff on a pro bono basis. So we're offering this pro bono. And I just wanted to make a point that as the grant management person, one, this is a project is a reimbursement only. So the money doesn't come to Farm to Neighborhood until the money has been spent on something that is part of this project. So if they were to go off and do something totally unrelated, they would not get the money. And also there is a commitment with Farm to Neighborhood to continue to lease this property for I think 20 or 25 years so that they can continue to fulfill what they have promised to do as part of this project. So I just want to make those comments. I really enjoyed working on the grant application. I don't get a chance to do that very often, and it was very rewarding to work with Rashi and her board on developing a project concept that met the mission of creating a community where everyone has access to, I quote, delicious, nutritious, and affordable food choices. So that's the mission of Farm to Neighborhood, and two of the ways that they're currently doing that and that this project will enhance those programs is Healthy Youth, which is an education program that empowers youth to cook, grow, and thrive, and Senior Fresh, which provides seniors living in low-income areas with fresh produce. And Farm to Neighborhood has also cultivated a network of local and minority farmers to help them with these projects. The grant itself, the stated goal of the grant was, I quote, fund investments in neighborhood features, including parks, recreation facilities, sidewalks, and healthy food access as a way to improve physical and mental health outcomes. And that is a perfect fit for what Farm to Neighborhood is trying to do and what they want to expand their capacity to do. The grant is $965,000 to fund, as you've heard, the creation of a teaching kitchen and a community garden where families and children can recreate, and there's a space, it'll be a space also for educational activities centered on wellness. The combination of these improvements will again increase Farm to Neighborhood's capacity to address food insecurity and offer educational programming. So I really do believe this is a great project. I think it will result obviously in physical improvements to the Triangle Plaza. Is very much in line with the comprehensive plan, and your approval of this project is the first step towards the realization of the East Athens Wellness Experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Cassane. Is there anyone else here to speak to this tonight? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Janine Delane, and I'm representing the address of 100 Woodstone Drive here in Athens. I am also the board chair of Farm to Neighborhood and have been since its inception so many years ago. Initially, what we wanted to do with Farm to Neighborhood was to create an effort of fresh food access for limited income families and also bridging a gap between our food desert communities. In my 10-year role as a recruitment coordinator for the University of Georgia SNAP Ed program, I'm on the day-to-day constantly interacting with communities around food access. And so, when Rashi had this idea initially, I was able to bring in my experience of what I was doing throughout the state to help, give effort and motivation for her to see this effort through. Since then, we originally thought that we would be, of course, helping bring food access into local communities. And as we began to set out to do that work, when this grant was proposed before our board, we thought it was a great opportunity where we could build sustainability into the work that we were looking to do. So not only would we just be giving out fish, we would also be teaching a community to fish by being able to create space to teach gardening skills, entrepreneurial skills, and the things of that like. One thing that I just wanted to keep in mind is that when we're looking at this grant, I think there's a lot of misconception around this zoning issue. What we're looking to do here is just improve greater sidewalk access in and around the triangle space. I think there's a lot of confusion on what's actually going to be changed from what exists today, and I just think that we need to get a point of clarity on that particular effort, because I think it's only going to help the community to have an improved walking space and security space that young people and seniors and whatever can access in and around the area. We do want to, in your consideration, we are very thankful for the support that we had initially when this grant came into fruition, and we had several town hall meetings that were hosted by leadership of District 3 at the time, helping us to come up with best ideas that we felt that could help the community multi-generationally here in the area. So, not only will we be servicing youth, but we have the elders and just adults in general that will be able to take advantage of the existing resources that are being already currently provided in and around that business corridor area. And keep in mind, nothing of the main structure is changing, and we will continue to support the minority businesses that are currently already in existence. So we forget we do have businesses that are operating there, and we're just creating a space for self-improvement. So thank you very much for your
Thank you, Mr. Lane.
consideration on behalf of our entire board.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak to this tonight? All right, we'll come to commission discussion. It's in District 3, Commissioner Taylor.
Yeah, I would first like to start off by saying when I first got elected, I was introduced to this plan, and I spent my first year as an elected official before I was even sworn in. I spent a lot of my days on the block, not for recreation reasons, but just to wrap my head around what Rashi wanted to do on the property. I think this idea to get a community garden as well as a teaching kitchen in our community, I think that it's a great idea. I think that it helps define the word community. Inner East Athens, we've been the same community for a long, I'm 36, and I was raised in LB and on Art Street. And so it hasn't been a lot of change. But right now, there are Black businesses that are operating on the property right now. And so I wouldn't have any objection to the planning department's recommendation to approve it.
Any other input? Commissioner Lane?
Yeah, so effectively, all this is asking for is to convert a handful of parking spaces to green space, community garden, and add about a dozen trees to a piece of property that has 0 trees on it right now. I mean, this isn't just a food desert, it's a desert. So, I mean, I just see this as an improvement to the property and a benefit to the entire community. Those trees will make for a healthier community. The activity on that property makes for a healthier community. The gardening makes, I'm a gardener, makes for a healthier community. The one issue I have is, you know, they're closing the curb cut at Vine Street, which makes sense to me, but I would like to see a crosswalk continue there and maybe some speed bumps to it. I mean, people will still be walking back and forth across. Just because the car access will be closed doesn't mean that pedestrians won't continue to cross there. So I would like to see a mid-block crosswalk added to assure that there is safe pedestrian crossing, and hopefully more people will take advantage of this property and participate in the activities there.
Just to Commissioner Lane's point, I know that oftentimes the public improvements that are off of private property kind of are limited. Would a kind of treatment like a speed table where the crosswalk is be the kind of thing that would be allowed as a PD approval?
Is that a question for the attorney or?
Well, a combination of the attorney or the planning director.
You know, off-site improvements, if they can be found to be related to what's going on with the development, can be a condition of approval, but if they're not, then it's kind of out of bounds to do that. With your permission, I could look at the aerial and see what kind of crosswalk is there now.
There's just a regular one without flashing light, because I've been asking for flashing lights. This is a great conversation to bring up traffic coming, Bob.
Okay.
We need flashing lights. We can't get speed bumps because it's an artery, but we can turn it into a full-way stop too, on one side.
Mayor, I may have.
Yeah, Mr. Bacon, certainly I know you've analyzed this site for quite some time.
Yeah, thank you. So we are working with Transportation and Public Works to improve other pedestrian egress across this block and intersection. We're in fact meeting with staff next week to discuss what those improvements might look like. That would be funded separately from this grant, but in conjunction with some other improvements.
Thank you, appreciate it. Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, with the rezone, can any type of housing, anything be used on that particular block? Can it change anything from a housing perspective, anything added with the rezone?
No, sir. So the plan development as approved and as proposed to be amended didn't have any housing in it at all. So if there is to be that added in the future, it would come back before this body after having come before the planning commission. So there'd be a public process about that. Did that kind of change or any change of that magnitude?
So that's toward my question. So somebody could come back
Yes.
and say, well, we want to put housing somewhere within that particular area. I'm just asking a question.
No, right. A request could come in to introduce other uses. Some of those might be housing, some of those might be a different configuration of commeror.
And that would
But it would
require-
require an amendment of the PD every time.
So, and my other question is, I lost my train of thought. With the development, what the zoning has now, why can't they do the same thing? Why we have to do the rezone? With the zone that they get, that's presently there now, why can't they go and improve the parking lot area and all those things?
No, that's a great question. Why can't you just do a community garden, right? Because we have a binding site plan that showed that as asphalt, that showed that as parking, that becomes locked in. And so even to convert the asphalt to green space is enough of a change to have to come back before the mayor and commission and have a PD amendment considered to be able to do even that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Thornton and then Davenport.
I think that Commissioner Fisher asked the question that's been bothering me, because I thought there was going to be some additional changes like housing, or I don't know where I got that from. But, so then, even when we do PDs and we think that's it and the end all for everything, PDs can be changed at a request. So when we say I don't like rezones because, or straight zones, whatever, PDs can be altered
By this body.
on any, okay, all right. I thought, okay, learned something new.
Commissioner Davenport?
So just a point of clarification, this is not a rezone, correct? Because this is a 1996 plan development, and the applicant is just asking for an amendment to add more green space in.
Yeah, the zoning designation is not changing,
It's going to stay the same.
but it is a zoning action that you would be taking to amend it.
Okay.
Okay.
Commissioner Thornton?
I'm going to say this again, and I've said it over and over and over again. I really think that all of us need some education on zoning stuff, and we do need to put a pause while we get that education. I'm thinking now that what is being proposed is really changing the sidewalks, expanding and adding the garden part. That is the request in a nutshell. Okay. The Commissioner.
Taylor?
Yes, also because I wasn't aware that there was an amendment to the plan from 2016, can I start talking to somebody about their grocery store now? It's been amended. It got bigger. It might be enough space.
If somebody wanted, if the owner of that wanted an amendment, they certainly could come to this group as the one across the street has.
Well, I guess I think, I'm sorry you didn't acknowledge my hand, but
I think I saw Commissioner
Okay.
Johnson. I'll come back. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor. I have several questions, but I want to start with an explanation or just some more context, because I feel like this is a similar conversation from 2.5 years ago. I recall there was a community garden. I recall there was a conversation and a speech about food desert and creating a community garden for the food desert. So what happened to that community garden is a question that I have. Also, in reading the report from WNA Engineering, there's a brag here that the applicant distributed over 5,000 pounds of fruit and vegetables to low-income families in the last year alone, and that's a great thing. It does not tell the whole story. I don't know the complete story, but I do know a lot of that came from the food bank. And so anyone can do that. I question the relationship between the applicant and WNA Engineering and the pro bono factor. These are legitimate just concerns. It doesn't say this is a hard no or this is a hard yes, but that is a question. What is the relationship, and is there a conflict there? There was a garden.
Commissioner,
What happened
let
to
the
it?
attorney respond to that, but generally speaking, we're looking at the physical contours of the space, kind of in a zoning hearing. I don't know if Attorney Drake, you want to?
I was asking about the garden that they had before, what happened to the garden. This is similar. I do recall hearing a speech 2.5 years ago about a food desert, about a community garden, and this is what this is today. And I understand reducing parking spaces. I'm looking up binding, and if you need to change anything to actually add a sidewalk and reduce the parking spaces, not necessarily. They've already had that, and I'm just curious. There is more subjective language in this, and I read the entire report twice, and not necessarily from the applicant, but for the writers who provided this to us. It makes me not trust the process. It makes me not trust the information, the details. So first, I would just want to know first what happened to the community garden, and why does it need to change? I mean, I'm not saying you know that, Bruce, but.
Yeah, and I really don't know an answer. I don't know the speech that you're referring to, so it may
Not
be
a
something.
speech, like a speech, but like it's like a meeting. It was
You may want to engage with
announced.
the applicant just outside of the context of this meeting, Commissioner Johnson, and that way you might.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
You may want to engage with the applicant outside of the context of this meeting to learn some history.
No, well, I know the history, I just don't know all of the history. And I'm saying it on the record because I do want other people that may know more than I do to actually combine in this conversation, because there is some overlap, there's some duplication. I want to know what's different. There was an award of a large sum grant that, the community was proud about, but the then applicant stated that they could not use it. They could not administer the grant for just reimbursement purposes, and I do understand how that works. What's different?
Well, tonight, we're just here to talk about the kind of physical contours.
This is not, I disagree. This is a bigger
I'm going to
this is
turn
a
to
bigger
Commissioner
issue.
Thornton and then to Commissioner
I wasn't
Myers.
finished. My time is
I'm going
not.
to turn to Commissioner
I wasn't
Thornton and then
finished.
Commissioner Myers. That was impertinent to the topic. Commissioner Thornton?
But the topic is what's included in this document, and I'm bringing the information from this document. I didn't think of it on my own. I didn't dream about it last night.
Commissioner
I'm
Thornton?
talking directly from this document. That's disrespectful, Mayor.
I know nobody's going to believe this, but I have lost my train of thought. So, Commissioner Myers, you're on.
Well, actually, I had a question similar to Commissioner Johnson's in that I always pull up Q Public, and so, the change seems to make sense in a lot of ways, but there is a property, and maybe the applicant can get this information to us, because there's other properties across the street on Gresham, and I'm always looking at the properties around it, so to understand what the plan is, because that's where the garden was, and I know that Broderick Flanagan was working with it, I cannot remember at the point, but the property is owned by the applicant, according to Q Public, so maybe you get us that information.
Commissioner Thornton?
That was my point. There was a garden over there, from what I remember, and that it was, I think at that time, like Commissioner Myers said, it was, but it also, if I'm not mistaken, Mayor, and you can help me, it was also in our budget one year about, was that about community gardens altogether, but it
We
wasn't.
once had a budget item, but again, the focus here is on the physical contours
Okay,
of the submission.
but I was trying to respond to Commissioner.
If we have questions, can we just ask them? This is the time to do it when people are watching.
I would engage with the applicant outside of the context of this, because right now we're just looking at this
This is a
triangle.
residential conversation.
Does anybody have questions about the triangle on the screen?
I have a question about the check that was written to Farm to Neighborhood for $1,250 out of your office last week.
Does anybody have questions about the triangle on the screen? If not, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next item. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it, Bruce.
Just two. Bruce, you got off easy today. Two. We had seven last time.
All right, we are here for public input on new business. And so we're looking for public input on items 1, 2, and 8 through 20. 1, 2, and 8 through 20. Items 1, 2, and 8 through 20. Public input on any of those items. We're looking for public input on items 1, 2, and 8 through 20.
All the items.
And again, just provide your name and place of residence.
And then say what I need to say, right? Yeah. Okay. Second. Good evening, Mayor Gertz and Commission. My name is Carly Rodriguez-Feo. I am the daughter of Kathy Rodriguez-Feo, who is also here tonight. My family has owned the property at 4710 Old Lexington Road since 1983, before I was born, and for the past 42 years. Our home, a log cabin sitting atop a hill on the east side of Athens and visible from a two-lane road, is right next to the land that the county is currently considering purchasing for over 3 times market value, by the way, in order to build the replacement Fire Station Number 5. My family and I are beyond devastated at this news, and we are asking tonight that you deny the option purchase agreement for 4730 Old Lexington Road and select a new or one of the different locations that have previously been identified for this project. I am an Athens native, born and raised. I graduated from Cedar Shoals High School, class of 2005. I attended summer courses during my undergraduate degree at the University of Georgia. Our home that I was born and raised in, the home that will be forever changed if this fire station is built next to our property, has always been mine and my family's sanctuary. Our home is more than a house. For my entire life, it has been a quiet and peaceful refuge when life gets hard and a place to host events, one of which I envisioned would be my future wedding. Our home overlooks green grass, small vineyards, and pecan and fruit trees that I planted as a child with my grandmother. Living there, I have experienced swimming in the pool, riding horses, feeding cows and chickens, chasing fireflies, and playing in the creek. This home remains a safe place for me to visit, rest, reflect, and reset from the curveballs that keep being thrown in my adulthood. Please don't take that away. I visit my mother often and spend as much time as I can writing poetry on her porch, or walking barefoot in the grass in her front yard with the birds and the deer. One day I had hoped to raise my future children in this house. Last night, as I sat on my mother's porch in a direct line of sight to where the potential fire station will go, I cried thinking about the view and quietness that would be destroyed. The noise and activities that will undoubtedly disrupt the wildlife, stillness, and serene environment that currently exists at our home is hard to put into words. The proposed location will destroy the view and privacy, not only from our yard and porch, but from within the home, as our big windows and glass doors are on that side of the house and directly face where the fire station would go. Unfortunately, the privacy and view from the family pool will also be completely disrupted. I have photographs to share tonight with anyone willing to see them. I have researched and spoken with individuals who have said that this project will also bring with it not just the sirens, but loudspeakers, mandatory audible testing, light installations, human voices, cement, traffic, construction, engine noise at unpredictable hours of the night, and other concerning and disruptive aspects. A sound barrier wall or a tree line in this residential location would not be enough to prevent the devastation to our family and the families that live around this lot. Thank you for listening to all of us tonight about how this land purchase and location decision would change our lives, not for the better, but for the worse.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez-Feo. Is there anyone else here to speak to either 1, 2, or 8 through 20? 1, 2, or 8 through 20? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is James Ward. I live at 4740 Old Lexington Road, and I'm talking about the relocation of Fire Station Number 5. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I live in District 1, and I'm a resident of this county. I'm a veteran, and I'm a former firefighter of Athens-Clarke County Fire Department. I'm speaking not only as a neighbor directly impacted on this proposed fire site, but also as someone who understands firsthand how emergency services work and what they need to operate effectively. I fully support improving the public safety and the ISO ratings, but I respectfully ask where the county has truly reconsidered all the viable locations. There is a vacant commercial lot 3 miles away, much closer to large number of new homes now under construction. This location better serves the growing population and future demand while minimizing disruption to established communities like mine. I understand the current site may reduce station overlap, but it also places the station further away from the primary city's call volume. An initial site survey didn't account for the construction boom now happening near the alternate location. My family chose to live in the country for space and peace. Placing a fire station immediately next door threatens that, not just for us, but for our neighbors. Increased noise, sirens, traffic, runoff from the construction, runoff from large asphalt that is required for a fire station are all concerns, especially with children in my home. If the county chooses to ignore the outcry of disapproval from the current residents and proceeds with this site, I ask you to reconsider this outrageously overpriced offer for purchase of land, and instead, I ask you to reinvest that money and look to different areas. You talk about trees being cut down. Have you been out there to see how many you will devastate for a fire station? I urge you to fully address the impact of not only the water runoff on nearby properties and follow through with the natural sound barriers and visual barriers that were included in the initial planning. That is probably being ignored right now because you are given the opportunity to build on this site. I want to emphasize Morton Road and Lexington Road, commercial property, minimizing tree being cut down, placing this in an avenue where it can go either direction, north, south, east, or west. Placing it in the current location, you get 2, left or right. All these things need to be reconsidered with what's going on because of what was placed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Is there anyone else here to speak to old or new business, items 1, 2, or 8 through 20? Good evening.
Hi. My name is Sabrina Ward. I live at 4740 Old Lexington Road. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm coming to you not just as a resident, but as a mother, a neighbor, and a paramedic with 22 years experience. We moved to this quiet part of the city with a dream of space, peace, and a better life for our children. We understand more than most the importance of emergency services, not in theory, but through decades of lived experience. So please know, our concerns about this proposed fire station do not come from ignorance. They come from deep understanding of both what it takes to serve and what it means to live here. The lot you're considering for the new fire station sits directly in front of my home. To some, it may look like just another vacant piece of land, a logical place on paper. But to us, it's our home. It's where our children ride their bikes, where we watch deer graze in the morning, where the stars still shine at night because city lights haven't swallowed the sky. It's where we found something rare, quiet, simplicity, home. We're not against progress. We know, respect, and appreciate the critical roles of our first responders. But this proposal feels like progress without compassion, development without understanding who it affects and what it takes away. A fire station here would bring sirens, floodlights, heavy trucks, round-the-clock noise into a space that was never built for that kind of activity. The land around it is not commercial or industrial. It's homes, fields, families, livestock. It's country living. We moved here for that reason. You see an open space. We see what is our way of life. Our children will lose the ability to run freely and safely. The serenity we've worked so hard to find will be replaced by disruption. Our front porch, once a place to breathe and unwind, will now overlook a facility that changes everything. We understand the city has been working to move this project forward, but we ask you sincerely with urgency, don't let that urgency overshadow the human cost. This isn't just about zoning or logistics, it's about lives, homes, families who will be deeply and permanently affected. As emergency responders ourselves, we know exactly what a firehouse demands, and we know that this peaceful neighborhood is not a suitable fit. We beg you to consider an alternate location, somewhere that better fits the infrastructure and rhythm a fire station requires, somewhere that doesn't unravel the peace of an entire neighborhood just to fill a need. Please don't turn our refuge into a roadway. This is our home, and once it changes, we can never get that back.
Thank you, Ms. Ward. Is there anyone else here to speak to 1, 2, or 8 through 20 tonight? Good evening.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Whitlow, and I live at 147 Elderberry Circle, and I'm a lifelong resident in Athens-Clarke County. I'm speaking on the concerns of relocating Fire Station Number 5 to 4730 Old Lexington Road, which is basically in the front yard of many families, and because it's also less than 1 mile from my home in Old Lexington Gardens, where I've been for over 11 years. An important point to make tonight is that a couple years ago, Ms. Kathy Rodriguez-Feo owned 6 acres that adjoined the 4730 plot. The appraisal for the 6 acres came back at $10,000 an acre. She sold the 6 acres to James and Sabrina Ward for a fair and reasonable price at $60,000. It is not visible from the photographs online, but that is where they built their family home, and they now raise their 3 children. The county is seeking to purchase the 7.5 acres at 4730 at over $64,000 an acre. That's a $328,560 above fair market with our Clarke County taxpayer dollars. Even with the road access to 4730 comes with, there's a huge concern for how much this is being sold for. Please consider this unnecessary to spend this amount of money at this specific location when other locations have been identified. There was a money comparison made to Station Number 2. That is not a reasonable comparison because that property was built on the west side of Athens and where land value is very different and was not being built in someone's front yard. Being the daughter of a retired Clarke County fireman who served for 40 years and is here tonight, I have spent the majority of my life visiting the fire stations here in Clarke County, specifically Station 5. With that being said, I know and value not only the importance of, but the need of a new station. But please deny this option purchase of 4730 Old Lexington Road and select a new location for this project. You wouldn't want this for your family or your home either. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whitlow. Is there anyone else here to speak to 1, 2, or 8 through 20 tonight? Good evening.
Hello. Suzanne Warnfelds, 175 Dunwoody Drive. First of all, I'd like to thank you guys and tell you how much I appreciate you and your work as commissioners. You guys get a lot of opinions, helpful and otherwise, and I appreciate you guys wading through it all. All right, so on to the topic, which is the Community Energy Fund, which I remind you is a carefully crafted tool that turns Georgia Power franchise fees into clean energy projects and money in the Athens ACC budget, right? And when we use that money for clean energy, then the city pays less for electrical costs, right? We pay less to Georgia Power. So I'm delighted to see on the agenda tonight numbers 13 and 18. These are clean energy projects that use Community Energy Fund dollars. So this is the end product, really. These are projects funded by the Community Energy Fund. So the first, number 13, is to solarize Fire Station number 8 and Dudley Park, which has an estimated lifetime savings of $600,000 over the lifetime of that project. Number 18 is all about the Community Energy Fund. It's a request for like comprehensive plan to use the Community Energy Fund dollars for to educate citizens, to upgrade municipal buildings. There's a green business initiative in it. And then clean energy projects for the Athens affordable housing, which we're all working towards affordable housing now. So these projects are exactly what the Community Energy Fund was intended for, and I thank you for considering them tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Warrenfeld. Is there anyone else here to speak to old or new business tonight? Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Rodriguez-Feo. I'm the one who owns 4710 Old Lexington Road, right next to the proposed property for the Station 5. You've heard my daughter, my friends, and my neighbors talk about this. This is 53 years ago I came to Athens, went to the University of Georgia, loved Athens, did not leave. 42 years ago, I bought the property. I bought 18 acres. The next year, where this property is about to, where you're talking about putting this fire engine, our fire station, I tried to buy. There were 12 acres, 12 and a half acres. Mr. Keller did not want to sell the front, but I did acquire the 6 acres behind. Throughout the years, I've tried to buy that front acreage. He did feel like he was always going to move there, but he didn't. His sons were going to move there, they didn't, which thrilled me because that left that land as beautiful as it is. And all the neighbors have tried to buy it. We're not told anything about this particular fire station. The first thing I heard about fire station was a year ago when they were talking about Morton Road. And then the next thing I knew, that was not going to happen. There was no mention of my next door neighbor. I mean, there was just no mention of it until this spring when I am sitting on my porch and surveyors and electricians come to do that land. I don't know, I'm panicking because I'm 72 years old. This is my home. This is where I want it. As my daughter said, we're planning to have a wedding there. There's so much time and effort that's been put into this property, and so much love. And again, when we're talking about money, I sold 6 acres for $10,000. This was 2 years ago. 6 acres for $10,000 apiece. And now you heard what they're paying for this. It doesn't make sense. And I don't even, besides all the sound and all that, what is that going to do to my taxes? What is that going to do to my property value? All of this I ask you to take in consideration and vote against this.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez-Feo. Is there anyone else here to speak to old or new business tonight? Good evening.
Hi, evening. Thanks for your listening ear. My name is Tricia Bearden. I live at 5500 Old Lexington Road. I've been on the east side of Athens since 2002, and I am grateful to call this little piece of rural East Athens home for the past 2 decades. With that said, I'm here today to petition that you would not only decline this current proposal in front of James and Sabrina Ward's home and in the Rodriguez family home, but that you would really reconsider all these options for firehouses or for the relocation of Fire Station 5 on Old Lexington and portions of Morton. Where it currently sits and where you're wanting to relocate it are not apples to apples. The moment you turn down Old Lexington Road off Whit Davis, it becomes a different vibe, if you will, to Athens. It carries rural character and a residential feel that we value. We love being on city water. We love being 7 minutes from Chick-fil-A, but we value that we feel like we're in the country as well. So today, I'm asking you to protect the rural character and quality of life that we have invested our lives in on East Athens, specifically off Old Lexington Road. I'm asking you to consider not placing an unfair burden on your longstanding residents and property owners in this area. And I'm asking you to consider placing this needed relocation, but only in a different area. There are 3 commercial properties for sale at the corner of Morton Road, Robert Hardiman, off Highway 78. That really would serve a much better relocation opportunity. And with that said, we're raising our families there, and I would just like you to consider a home that you have lived in for 20 years, investing in, only to not look out and see a sunset and a cow pasture, but to see lights and sounds. And honestly, the potential burdens that it would cause on our land by putting a fire station there, we're talking it's going to have a fueling station, and it is surrounded by 2 creeks, Big Creek, and then what's the name of the other creek? Shoal Creek. And so it does cause concern about what's going to happen with these 2 water places. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your listening ear.
Thank you, Ms. Bearden. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Dulmelis Sandu of 5505 Old Lexington Road. Did you know that veterinarians have the highest suicide rates of all professions? Very sad. The last thing I want is for my tranquility to be disturbed after a long, hard day of work. I've moved from Cuba, a communist country, and I came all the way to the United States to fulfill the American dream. And now, with a retired Marine with PTSD and a son with autism, not only will I have to bear the burden of sounds and my son screaming when the fire truck goes down Old Lexington Road, but also the tranquility that I have fought so hard to fulfill. I know that you guys are not familiar with Old Lexington Road, but it is a different area. It is tranquil. When I drive and that sun setting or that morning sunshine is coming through the tree line, it really soothes me and my family. And you'll find that every neighbor that is present here today feels the same way about it. I do value our firefighters and the service that they provide. Recently, I was in need of one of their services when my mother fell ill, and they came and they provided their services. However, I also value the tranquility that I have on a daily basis. There are other more suitable locations, so I feel like you guys really need to reconsider why Old Lexington Road is such a windy road. It is actually very dangerous. People do about 40 to 50, sometimes even 70 down that highway. It is wound. It also sits on areas where wildlife is present. Turtles, sometimes I have to pick them off the road. Deer that get hit all the time on that road. Vultures, other animals. So I really would like to have you reconsider a different location. Old Lexington Road is not the place for this fire station. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Sandu. Is there anyone else here to speak to either 1, 2, or 8 through 20?
I do.
Good evening.
I'm here because I like something on the agenda, and that is numbers 13 and 18 that Suzanne talked about a few minutes ago, the clean energy plan. She explained it, or the clean energy fund and the SPLOST proposal to put solar. She explained it well, so I'm not going to go back over it. I'm just going to say thank you. I'm thrilled to see it on the agenda. It's going to save ACC money. It's going to save residents money. It's going to help us have clean air in our homes and neighborhoods, and help us to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, which do cause climate change. So I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to the next, whenever the meeting is, when y'all vote on it, seeing a lot of support for it. Thank you.
Just make sure you read your name for the record for the clerk.
Oh, sorry, I'm Carrie Ritzler. I'm from 325 Ann's Court.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak to old or new business tonight? 1, 2, or 8 through 20? All right, we'll come for discussion. And Commissioner Myers, you asked that number 1 be removed, so I'll move that one.
There we are, back to that. Yeah. Actually, I looked at this, I want to put it back on consent after this. I just was, I think this is actually a really important item for all of us to look at, because it has to do with the transit dollars. And every time I'm looking at these right now, and looking how we're funding transit, I'm thinking about our next TSPLOST program and what kind of decisions we're going to make there. So I think it's really important to staff, for you all to get us all these numbers and possible projections before we start discussing fund allocations for the next TSPLOST. And so I really like that we have a work session on transit and funding in October and November before we decide in December on the TSPLOST allocations. The other thing is that, and maybe you all could address this now or not, the federal appropriations that are in here haven't been made yet, but according to the facts and issues, you all mentioned a number, which is a 41% reduction in federal funding. I'm not sure in how long, but are we fairly certain on the number for this year then? And then are there any grumblings, and maybe this is something for that work session, about even deeper cuts in following years that we'd have to address if we want to keep our transit running?
Yeah, I think as far as the certainty, we're as certain as we can be that those dollars are as they're projected. As far as kind of thoughts going forward, there's always the possibility that it'll be reduced if priorities continue to change at the federal level. And I do think that Vic can probably give a little more insight in the work session as to what the bigger conversation might be. But definitely there's that concern that those dollars will continue to decrease if the priorities continue to change.
Okay. Just real important discussion is we have a lot of people using those buses right now.
It also makes it really difficult to project what those revenues might be available in the future.
Yeah.
Is that everything, Commissioner?
Yeah, that's it.
Anything
Thank
else
you.
on number 1?
Put it back on, I'm fine with it going back on consent.
Everybody good? All right, we'll move on to 2. We were getting a grant for the Morton Theater.
Yeah,
Commissioner Wright?
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I just had some clarification that I could get possibly in an email. In the application, it seems like we missed a chance to actually say specifically the National Register of Historic Places. It seems like a vague answer there. And I looked it up, and it's specifically in the West Downtown Local Historic District. It's also on the Chitlin Circuit Heritage Trail, which I think should not be missed, unless the grant's already gone in, or if the grant is pull-down menu choices. But if those specifics could be looked at. And then also it talks about 501c3, and there is the Morton Theater Corporation that partners with us. So I'm not sure if it would enhance our grant application to make sure those specifics are pointed out. I just want to make sure we nail this. Thanks.
Email follow-up good on that?
And so just email me and put it back on consent. That'd be great, just to see how that might work out.
Anything else on number 2?
Back on consent.
All right, it's back on consent. All right, move on to item 8. This is the property acquisition prospectively for Fire Station number 5. Any input on this one? Commissioner Davenport?
I'm going to get input. Now, just to my colleagues, I did not ask not one single resident to come, but I'm glad that they showed up. So I agree with the residents who spoke. I will be issuing a CDO and looking at outside of the interested area and look at property that the county owns or that's for sale. But you know, like people move to Boulevard area because they want that walkability, they want that bikeability. People move to the west side because they want to be close to 316, they want to be close to Atlanta, or you know, to travel to and from Atlanta or Bogart. People move to the east side because they want that tranquility. I've said it 1,000 times. They want that peace and quiet. And I love, and I promise I ain't coached nobody, but I love the value of the country, the rural character, some of the things that the District 1 resident said. But there's a quality of life that people buy into. They don't want they don't want to see the street lamps. They don't want to see the lights. They love the deer, the raccoons, and the stupid possums who run across the street and stuff. But it's a peace and quiet that people buy into, and these are not newcomers. The people who live on the east side are mostly traditional legacy residents. These people have been here, they got grandkids, great-grandkids, and they want to keep that, you know, that quality of life. Plus, you know, AR zone got a lot of farms out there, and it shocked me that Mr. Kohler is going to sell, because I remember sending a letter asking, and by sending a letter out a year ago asking if any resident is interested, and but anyway, but what's done is done. But at the end of the day, please don't deny these individuals their quality of life. This is what they bought into. This is what they want, and it's not just these residents who showed up, because I'm quite sure on the September 2nd there will be more. I have a list of 195 homes. These are not individuals. These are homes. These are husband, wives, kids in the entire area who are like, no, we need to look outside the circle. And I did a test run a couple of weeks ago. If you go to the corner of Morton Road and Morton Road and Lexington, I, in a white van, a work van, can make it to, you know, don't tell the police, I can make it to Old Lexington in 2.5 minutes. So, and I was, you know, I'm just saying for a fire truck.
Save that ring camera footage.
I know. Yeah, so if a fire truck is concerned about distance and getting to homes, the corner of Morton Road and Lexington Highway will suffice. And I also made it up to Old Lexington Garden within 3 minutes. I made it to the end of Morton Road in 4 minutes, and those are all within, you know, that's speeding, Lord forgive me, but that's all within the guidelines of what the fire department is looking for when it comes to access to providing services for the east side.
We've got to move on to discussion, so just listen, if you will. Commissioner Johnson.
I appreciate Commissioner Davenport always being consistent about the quality of life of his residents. He consistently says people move there and stay there because they want peace, tranquility, quiet. They don't want all that noise. And I appreciate you for always advocating for the same thing and not changing. I appreciate the gentleman, the former firefighter, that spoke about the trees, because we have individuals in our community that care deeply about trees, retaining trees, making sure we follow the tree canopy mandate to the T, if not more. He brought up an excellent point. Putting the fire station in this location would destroy tons of trees. And I just wanted to say it twice, it to be said twice, because the individuals that advocate so strongly, and I like trees too, this is something that needs to be promoted. A lot of trees will be destroyed. And the third thing is, I would like to understand the increase in property value per acre from $10,000 per acre 2 years ago to $64,000. How does that happen, and who determined it, and what was the criteria in which they used to make that determination? Thanks.
If management wants to kind of outline how property negotiation works on a project like this.
Yeah, I mean, I can start, and then Andrew can certainly add. I mean, it starts by identifying the possible locations. In this case, there were 3 where there were offer letters sent out to individuals. Actually all 3, I think, originally had indicated they did not wish to sell their property. Later one came back, the property that's in question. And really, it's no different than when we buy property on our own. You're negotiating with that property owner, trying to get at the best price. But at the end of the day, it really is, in a lot of ways, driven by what the seller is ultimately willing to sell the property for. And that would be true in any of the locations we're looking at. Certainly, commercially zoned property is going to sell at a premium as well, so that will push the prices. But it's really just that negotiation. There's no, and we do try, we have an obligation to try to get those prices as low as they possibly can, but at the end of the day, it's going to be up to the seller what they're going to be willing to sell for. Then we have to make a determination, and you have to make a determination if we're willing to pay that for those prices.
Thank you. Would it increase the property taxes for the individuals that live?
No, those will still be based off of their properties and what the land values are in the bigger surrounding area, as well as the improvements that they've made on that property. So the fire station itself would not necessarily do that, no. Now, it might be different if somebody were building commercial property or, apartments or something. That may change in the area and stuff, but not with a fire station. So.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Myers?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to this briefly because although I don't live, that isn't my district, I live close by, and I do pass this section a lot. I'm a recreational cyclist and a commuter, but I go out there a lot, so I'm very familiar with the old Lexington Morton Road. I chaired the site selection committee, but my involvement with that site selection was not personal as it is for you all out there. But it was based on many, many presentations and questions and answers from the fire department, many of the questions that you all asked. And so I'd like to ask staff to make sure, because I looked in the agenda report, none of that information is there again. And it's just, people come to agenda items when it gets a little closer to home. That happens all the time. So I would like you to put that out there. Because a lot of the things we're asking, we responded to in different ways, so there's a bunch of documents. But I'd like to see if staff could address a couple of things. And one is, how many calls are expected from this firehouse on a daily basis? I think it was something like 3 or 4. What percentage of medical responses versus fire? Also, could you address, how much of the land will the building itself and close by it use, and how many engines? I think that, I didn't learn till late in the process that firehouse has like 1 engine versus the one in College Station, which I live not College Station, but over by the vet school that I live very close to, is 3. So there's a lot more activity coming out of that. But also the design process and what it'll do to mitigate the effect of the firehouse on the neighbors. And maybe that's probably as the most important thing to see if you have some kind of response to right now, and if not, as we're going further, but perhaps you could speak to that a little now.
Yeah, I think we can talk loosely about it, but probably are items that we would want to bring back as a part of the discussion. And actually, I think one of those would include the selection criteria that was used. I think you're referencing those in the history that it
Right.
points to those, and what were those?
Yeah, and there's a lot of questions about why there, the discussion about why not at the corner of Morton Road and Lexington Highway, that was brought up and addressed, the firehouse, we kept pushing the firehouse on that one, they kept coming back. So although I appreciate Commissioner Davenport's, studies that he's done in his own vehicle on these kind of situations, I have to listen to what the firehouse is saying about the need for certain things, the amount of people that are being served and so forth. So I want to make sure that the public has all that information. Now, again, that was the reason why that location was, the service, and so forth. We still, I'm not saying we haven't had any discussions. I don't know how this will be voted against for, but I want to make sure that information is available and people don't have to be digging through it.
Yeah.
All the old reports.
And we'll have the selection criteria, and also the chief will be present also, so that he can actually talk specifically to those items as well.
But the design the process for where it's going to be located and how much space and how it can mitigate its effect on the neighbors. I know that was brought up some during the discussion. Is there anything you can say to address that?
Well,
I know staff is in the room, so if we need to talk about specifics for firehouse operations, we can. The site is much larger than the minimum site area we need to create or host a fire station, and part of that is so that there's space for buffering and setting us apart from the neighbors. Certainly, further design elements can go in or in regards to lighting and other things to make it more integrated into the site. Selection criteria, I'll definitely defer to staff, and same thing with the operations.
And the number of calls that are expected, because I think that was much smaller than people realize.
Would you like Fire Chief to talk about
Well,
what
if
the
he
kind of daily call?
can, I'm not sure if he's prepared to at this point or not, but I'm sure that some of the people here speaking would love to hear from him.
Chief Moss, thanks for joining us. Good to see you.
Thank you. I would be happy to answer what I can right now. I would refer back as far as a full presentation that we had back in February. I believe, let me check the date, February 13, 2024. We've been working on this for quite some time. It was a pretty comprehensive question and answer, also as to the methodology as to why this location. ISO being the main focus. NFPA 1710 also, those are industry standards, so I don't want to bore you with those details, but as far as the actual operation of this fire station, it would be just the one engine that we currently have out of current Fire Station 5, averaging 2.5 to 3 calls a day, not all emergent. Our overall average of medical calls are about 60%, so we would anticipate that average would carry over to this particular firehouse. As far as the buffering, I know that there's what I believe in the paperwork that I saw, we had requested for site selection to have at least a 300-foot buffer in every direction. I think there's at least 600 feet, if I'm thinking correctly. But I'll let SPLOST probably cover that specifics as far as this piece of property. I guess operationally speaking, I'd be happy to answer any fire department questions, but I'll let Josh focus on any maybe specific to the site selection process or something.
Do you want to follow up, Josh?
Well, I think simply to point out that, you're right to point out that in this design process, what would happen next is schematic plan. As a part of that, we can build in certain measures to mitigate concerns, whether that be aesthetic, it might be visual, all sorts of design elements that could help. So, and that would be what's next.
Is that everything, Commissioner Myers?
Yes, that's good. Thank you so much.
Anything else from the body on this? All right, we're going to move on to item number 9, and this is a potential property acquisition to add to the Beech Haven Park project, which of course was a SPLOST project funded through the last SPLOST package. Any questions on this? Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, I did reach out to our director of leisure. I would like to tour that particular property and take a look at it. I know myself and Commissioner Link, both of us are sort of attached to that particular project with District 5 and District 2 having part of that. So I would like to visit that project and walk in and take a look at what the future may look and what impact it's going to have on that area around there. So.
Absolutely, and I know staff will be happy to arrange that. Anything else on this one? Do you want to leave this on discussion?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess, I'm assuming whatever, Alex, I sent you an email, so. I responded. Okay, so once we get that together, but we can leave it on there, yeah.
Perfect. All right, move on to item 10, and these are improvements at the intersection of West Broad and Hancock, of course, where we've been preparing the roundabout. Commissioner Link?
Actually, no, my comments are about the next one. This
Okay.
is the roundabout, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Next one of those kind of smaller scale elements. Anything about the roundabout?
Can it
I'll
go
put that
on
on consent.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something. So I've been going back and forth between Brazelton and Athens recently, and I've noticed that they put a lot of roundabouts. And so I was wrong about traffic coming because roundabouts work.
All right.
It's on record, she said it.
It's on record. She won't repeat it, but it's
Commissioner
on
Taylor, the roundabout true believer. All right.
All right.
All right. Consent?
Consent?
All right.
Apparently.
So it is. All right. Item 11, Commissioner Link, go right ahead. These are the
Yes.
neighborhood scale improvements.
Yes, these are the small pedestrian improvements that are being proposed throughout the neighborhoods on both sides of West Broad. I'm going to ask that we put this on hold because I want to bring it to the neighborhood. And, I have some concerns about the prioritization of some of these projects. I mean, they're all great projects, but I feel like the folks that actually live there might want to reprioritize them. So I've made some outreach to the West Broad Advisory Board. I haven't heard back yet, but I'm hoping to secure a meeting within the next couple of weeks before our voting meeting.
Anyone else on this one? All right, we'll see this first Tuesday in September. All right, 12 is the public art style for art in the Costa building, which we just cut the ribbon on. Commissioner Wright?
Well, more details are going to come after a meeting on the art on the 14th, but I'm okay with it going on consent. In the vein of us, having confidence in the committees that are working on this, if others are okay with it, and then if we need to pull it off, but if it's on consent.
Everybody okay?
To start off that way.
With consent? All right. A wall is a wall. Art is art. All right. Item 13 are two sub-projects that are part of the solar initiative, Fire Station number 8 and Dudley Park, both of which will be getting some upgrades, including battery storage. So excited about that.
Consent.
Everybody okay with consent there?
Consent.
All right. All right. 14 is approval of safety improvements at Thomas and Washington, just across from the Classic Center.
Can we fast track that? Can we vote
Everybody
on
okay
that?
with consent? All right.
Can I ask a question, though?
Absolutely.
Because there are these rectangular rapid flashing beacons that are there now, and I guess they're going to be moved in closer to be more effective, hopefully. But you said that there's a long-term strategy, and I was wondering, is that, and it says for traffic signal, is that like a full traffic signal, or is it the pedestrian hybrid beacon traffic signal? Because that's a lot of traffic signals in that.
So it meets warrants for a full traffic signal. We have currently engaged in a traffic study of this portion of downtown, including this intersection. And so as a part of that, we'll get more insights as to whether a traditional traffic signal would be best or something like the Hawk, the pedestrian-only signal.
Okay, just curious. I guess they'll all work together when you get that programmed. There'll be 3 right there. Okay, great. Thank you.
And that future traffic signal would sort of be an add-on, so the pedestrian refuge, as I understand it, would stay regardless.
Yeah, I like that.
Consent?
Yep.
All right. 15 is something we see annually, the Downtown Development Authority Community Events Program funding request. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, I would like to see the comparison of these numbers and allocations to the FY 21 through FY 25 budget. We had several groups come to us during our last budget meeting asking for consideration for an increase because the Convention and Bureaus Center promotes their work to get people here and have a great time in Athens, but what they're paid is not gone up. And I thought that was a great point. So I would like a 5-year comparison, please, to the numbers that are included in our agenda packet.
We can definitely pull that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wright?
I just wanted to highlight one of the new ones on here. It's called the Scam Jam. That's the Council on Aging is doing that to help the community not get scammed out of their hard-earned money. And I hope that gets promoted so we know when that comes about. But that's one of the new ones that have been added in here to the budget. Anyway, but consent,
Yeah.
Commissioner Myers?
Yeah, I had a question too about that, was that it says in there that the guidelines limit an events funding request to no more than 50%. Does that mean that all of those organizations getting money, 50% of their total costs? So there were some that had a bigger jump because there was more money, like the big things like the Wild Rumpus and AthFest. And I was wondering if that, I don't know, just how that, just in terms of, to be sure on the equity there, is that, were all of them asking for all of their costs or just a part of the cost, if you know? Are they all getting for 50% of their total costs? I mean, do they all add different things, and are they
And you
Just
guys all, because
based
there's so
on
much
the
more money.
Attachment that shows the ask and the award, I would wager that they're not all getting 50% of their cost. And my prior engagement with ADDA on this, who coordinates it, they take multiple factors into consideration, including total project cost, history, impact on downtown. And so what's common is that a new player might step up and be ready to host an event. And on the permitting side, we'll see that they say, well, we're going to sell out all of downtown, got big visions. And both on special events permits and then on CEF awards, we tend to say, love the vision, let's start small and grow over time. So we can get ADDA to give you a formal answer, but I would just say there's multiple factors.
And I guess that in terms of this, just the rationale behind it, so I can understand it, because the, Athfest and Wild Rumpus, which I'm sure are more expensive, are getting a lot more in their award than they requested, and those larger ones are the only ones that they're there. So I'm totally supportive of them. I was just wondering what the thinking was behind that.
And Commissioner, some of the requests may have been based upon that sort of old baseline of a $60,000 annual expenditure as well. We seem to have fortunately kind of moved into a new environment where $250,000 is sort of the baseline annual threshold. Obviously, we'll see what we do in the future, but some of it just has to do with history. Commissioner?
And I'll just add too, part of the thinking is that we do like to encourage new events downtown and to offer variety for a lot of different folks. So when you become an established event, like some of these, Athfest is very well established and Wild Rumpus is as well, then you would expect that they probably would receive a lot more sponsorships associated with those larger events that draw people here. So we try to weigh that in mind as well to encourage new events, to encourage more people to come downtown. And I will say this, over the years, we've really tried to make it easy for events to happen downtown. If y'all remember, I know Mayor Gerst does, and probably Commissioner Wright, where we used to, if somebody was doing an event downtown and they had to close off parking spaces, this government would charge them for those parking spaces that they closed off, and we no longer do that. The same for insurance requirements. We tried to help with insurance requirements. So we've tried to lower the cost associated with doing events downtown, while at the same time increasing some proceeds to go to them.
Commissioner Fisher?
Well, I also wanted to comment that this is also not meant to be the entire budget fulfilling entity. Visit Athens also has their own grants for promotional purposes, so these same groups would be potentially applying to them for their promotional grant for that. So there's also the other entities that help us bring these free events.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, so Mayor, and maybe staff, so if a new organization want to do an event downtown, how would they go about getting money? And where I'm going with this is, I mentioned in our last voting meeting, I'd really like to see us do a back-to-school bash for the whole community. So somebody want to do that, how would they go about trying to get those funds?
What they would want to do is kind of ahead of the beginning of the fiscal year, engage with the Downtown Development Authority kind of for the following year.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add to that, Mayor, too, as well?
Commissioner
So, and the Downtown Development Authority also has provided event funding separate from the CEP dollars. So there is, a lot of times we find that there's a good idea with a good event that needs to move quickly and not necessarily not have spent the time. So there is.
Yeah, so if we're doing something, say, next July 20th, now's definitely the time to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, going to move on to item 16. This is the kind of long side intersection improvement at Hawthorne and Oglethorpe. Of course, one of our most accident-prone intersections, unfortunately. Commissioner Davenport?
100% support of this, because that intersection is very prone to constant accidents, mainly because of that hill on both sides, on three sides of it. So I just I lost my, I didn't lose my train of thought, I lost the point that I was going. So there was a business meeting Business meeting hosted by TPW where the impacted property owners met to discuss that they're okay with eminent domain. Can I get a video or is there a written?
Are there minutes or any notes from that
Yeah.
meeting? And then I know Ronnie Cantry from Transportation Public Works is here.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. Thank you for having us. To help answer any questions regarding public meeting and specific for eminent domain, there was no meeting regarding that. There was a meeting, and this typically happens for a capital improvement project where before we come to Mayor and Commission for a preliminary engineering approval and going into a right-of-way phase, we would host a meeting with impacted property owners to let them know this project is coming up and this is what the impact looked like. Yes, this took maybe 2 years ago in that time range. It's within the history of this agenda. It discusses that. So the answer is no, there has no discussions of eminent domain in that because that this is what we need, and if Mayor and Commission approves us, we'll seek right-of-way acquisition in this case, we are struggling with one property owner specific, and could be two because some technicality in the process where we're not able to get the right-of-way, and then we will, if you bless this agenda, then that would give staff authority to work with the Attorney's Office, utilizing eminent domain to get those easements and right-of-ways.
Okay, just on the this is just for us. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. So when you go to the ACC Gov website and look at it, the agenda, versus what's on the Z Drive, I guess what you call it, it says that at the impacted property owners meeting, properties and business owner tenants have expressed to TP and TNPW staff support of the proposed operational improvement. But when you look at what's online at ACC Gov, it's kind of vague, but maybe I'm looking at it wrong. But
We'll be happy to look
Okay.
at both and get back to you, if that's okay.
Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, and that's to Commissioner Davenport's point, 'cause that's in my district. It is a very dangerous highway, supported, and like I talked with the mayor today, sometimes I do have issue with eminent domain, so I just want to be careful. I know we got 2 pending properties that we're still trying to get, so I want to make sure, and I said this to the mayor, I just want to make sure that it doesn't impact the property owners' businesses. You know, I'm always aware, I want to be mindful of that as we move forward with that, but that intersection needs so much improvement there, and it is very, very dangerous. I don't want the property owners to suffer from a business perspective with what we're trying to do, which needed, but I just want us to be mindful again, with the 2 pending, I like to at least stay in the loop on it and just see what's going on, and see how we get there.
Yes.
Commissioner Myers, I see your hand.
Yeah, you
Okay,
do.
Commissioner Taylor.
I guess I'm just thinking about TSPLOST 2026 a lot. There's a great thing in the facts and issues there, and I hope staff will pull that together for us when we get closer. And I'm thinking about that money because there's a wonderful ranking metrics of the most dangerous intersections that are, it's in number 3 down there. So I just want to emphasize that that's some other information we'll need. I also thought this was interesting in light of the conversation we had at the work session about process and projects taking so long. I saw, again, this I guess was just in the history, but this was, it seemed to be significant. The RCN planning grant for $800,000 is in there, and that includes a lot of tasks. So after we were talking last week about cutting down the tasks, we've accepted this money, I think, so we're sort of obligated to follow through on this kind of planning process. So hopefully we can get lots of people out early and involved in that.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yeah, so I Googled both of the addresses, and one is CVS and one is the gas station. And so would you reach out to like the corporation?
That's correct. We reached out to the corporation, CVS, and we've been working with them. There has been some technicality back and forth, but we do hope that that would be resolved and it would not go to eminent domain. The other property owner is the gas station, and you're right. And we are in a negotiation phase where the numbers are not meeting, they're not getting close. So So that's that. I don't know how much can we share with that kind of level of information. Right-of-way acquisition is a phase where not so much talked about during that. It's an acquisition of property or part of the property, really not the entire. We staff don't believe that we are creating hindrance or major impacts of the property from them doing their business. However, they may be making an argument that no, it is. And so we're in that negotiation phase.
Yeah, so for the gas station, I can see that it is terrible getting in and out on both sides of the gas station. I get stuck there all the time, so I can get that for that one. But for CVS, either way, I just want, just for conversation's sake. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
I'll get Commissioner Davenport again, Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Davenport, I know you like to go to Vegas. You want to bet on the cost?
So, I agree with Commissioner Taylor, sorry. It's a long day, but anyway, I don't want to call out the entity, but yeah, that gas station was, they just remodeled that about a year ago. And so I'm just a little concerned about taking more of that property because it's, like literally one or maybe two cars can get into that spot, but I still support this project because it's, I think lives are more important than money in this instance.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, Commissioner Davenport stole my thunder, but yeah, that gas is real tight. And to Commissioner Taylor's point, it's hard to get in and out. So when we're looking at what we may be taking, that's what I'm concerned about. We may, depending on how much we're gonna take, it could be a problem. It may be a problem. So that's why I say keep me in the loop on this, because I think it's important that we don't affect this business too, but there's a tight space, right? And he's right there on that corner. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Ronnie. Appreciate it. We're going to move on to item 17. Hang on, we might need you again. You never know. This is the Chase Street Transportation Alternative Program Grant. This is preliminary plans approval and right-of-way authorization for the long-planned improvements on North Chase Street between the rail line and the intersection at Dairy Pack. So, questions about this?
Consent?
Consent? Ooh, we're winning tonight, friends. All right. 18 is the proposed projects and funding for the FY25 Community Energy Fund franchise fee allocation. We, of course, set a baseline of income from our utility rights-of-way dollars and have said that the balance we're going to put into clean activities.
Consent?
Everybody okay with consent on this? All right. All right. 19 is American Rescue Plan Act funding, recapture and reallocation. Engaged with a couple of recipients to ensure that they understood that, for the most part, we're just modifying the kind of funding stream, and there are just two projects that are no longer viable with funds that are going to be reallocated.
Consent.
Andrew?
Mayor, if we may point out a unique feature of this agenda, there are actually 4 options for you: a recommended, an alternative, and then like a CDO version. The main difference between the recommended and the alternative, the staff recommendation would fund the Center for Racial Justice and Black Futures, both through offsetting our current capital of $100,000 and providing for FY26 rent. Whereas the balance of that would be going into affordable housing. And because it's got to be existing contracts, all that we can really do is go back to our partners and have an expedited review of, if you had more money, how would you expend it and how would it advance your scope? If you all didn't want to go that route, there's an option 2, which is we basically would park it and do an existing capital project. And in this case, it would be a fire truck.
I like option 1.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, and I think, Mayor, we really need to make sure that the public understand that we're not taking $5 million back. That's sort of out there floating on social media. So I'm glad you said what you said about it's only 2
$few $100,000
nonprofits that we're, getting that money back. So we need to, for the public to understand, there's not a $5 million take back that we're taking back from nonprofits. So we need to make that clear. I want the public to state that, so.
It's helpful, thank you. Commissioner Thornton?
Well, to piggyback on Commissioner Fisher, that's the recommendation from staff, not to recap that all back. So if we put it on consent, that's what we're agreeing to. So it's not automatic, like these folk do have are kind of behind. But we're going to give them that opportunity to get caught up. So, but my question is on the two that we are recapturing, their scope was, both of those scopes were very, very, very unusual. So my question now becomes, will we have, or is it possible to see some possibilities at our next meeting if these two can be redirected to another nonprofit? But I do know that their scope was a little different.
So the recommendation from staff is a mechanism that would redirect it to nonprofits. In this case, it would take a workforce project and
Homeless.
homelessness.
Homeless.
And it would reallocate them to housing. Well, why housing? Twofold. One is housing contracts have been around the longest, and so they're actually the ones that are more likely to be exceeding our spending targets. Secondly is it's a long lead time to do anything with housing. So we debated internally about how to deal with this. If you all wish to redeploy ARPA into the community and not just for ACC Gov capital investments, doing it now is much better. You will not have these kinds of opportunities in another 6-9 months. So it is a reallocation, but there would be a separate agenda. So if you approve the staff recommendation, put it on consent or otherwise, they will come back to you with another agenda in October that says, here's how we recommend you redeploy the housing funding.
Okay, so even the, so the scopes of these two particular nonprofits, it doesn't have to be reallocated. I think one of them was EJC's. It does not have to be reallocated, training homeless persons for CNAs to care for homeless clients. That is the gist of this. So it doesn't have to be that. It just has to be something in the homeless or housing issue.
Yeah, so Facts and Issues 11 describes kind of the three broad strategies that can be used to reallocate ARPA. Probably the feds, at least in the prior administration, would have recommended like for like. So, for example, if we had more time, you would take a homeless contract and go find a new provider of the same scope. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury. So we've kind of bounced between what's recommended here, amending an existing ARPA contract to authorize unspent funds, but it would be a change of original purpose.
Okay, that's good to know.
Commissioner Myers?
Yeah, I just want to make sure there's a lot of letters down here under the options. And if we're looking at approving this, we're approving A, B, C, D, E, and F. And then F is the one where there were 3 options, but you guys are recommending using as described in Facts and Issues 16, which was using it for the what? Housing, but was that the one that was also using, it was for affordable housing using strategy number 1. That's not for the Black Futures Museum. I'm getting a little confused here as I.
Based on the budget discussions that you all had about the Center for Racial Justice and Black Futures, that recommendation is the exact same between all recommendations. So it would be.
Okay, that's that, and then the other one. And so that's what's in the previous E. I just wasn't reading all these points, sorry. But then this is what we're recommending now with this money that we're recapturing. In another 3 months, 6 months, or whatever the next time is, there's a possibility that we might have to recapture other funds. That could be a possibility if all those wonderful organizations doing great work aren't able to follow through on the plans they presented. Is that correct?
Oh, I think it's likely. We have a lot of ARPA dollars still out, and some big goals to achieve. And so if you just think about the simple, like doing a spend down as you approach December 31st of 2026, at some point, there's going to be some unspent funds.
Yeah.
And what you're going to find, recommendation from staff, is the closer we get to 2026, the more we're going to tell you, put it into capital, put it into capital.
Put it on that fire truck, okay. All right, I'm good.
I remember, we did get an email from the mayor asking, was there any more updates on the Boys and Girls Club? And I only see the Boys and Girls Club mentioned under the chamber allocation. Would they be in this, or have we already recaptured? I just didn't see them listed. I've seen it under, because they were getting funded also through the chamber for workforce development.
Page 8 of the agenda shows the larger award of $3.175
Page
million.
Page 8?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And so the reason why they're not referenced by name is they were expected to have spent 50%. We have qualified 59% expenses, and so they're meeting their spending targets.
Okay.
Commissioner Taylor.
Thank you. So just for clarification, I just had a question about the recapturing of funds, and going back to the light-to-light method. There, in the beginning of ARPA, not in the beginning of ARPA because I wasn't elected, but once I got elected, I spoke with a lot of people who felt that the red tape that came from applying to be able to be a community partner was just too much. So moving forward past that, and we're almost closer to the date of recapturing funds, is there a way for us to be a little bit slack on the, Andrew, you laughing? Only because I want us to be able to help nonprofits do more rental assistance. I don't know if everyone knows, but Housing Authority has went up significantly, and residents are paying almost $1,100 or being asked to pay $1,100 starting in September. And so I've been sending residents to the Salvation Army who got ARPA funds, and Captain Nicole didn't even know they had those funds, y'all, which is great because they've been able to help. No shade, she just is busy. But it's great to be able to send residents to nonprofits so that they don't get evicted. And so is there a way for us to, stop laughing, Andrew, to, and I know these are Fed guidelines, but I know we have guidelines too. So.
Yeah, so this was something I was involved in my time with HCD. As much as we would like these dollars to be freer to achieve our objectives, and in some nuanced cases they generally are going to point back to federal requirements, which in many cases are as equal or more onerous than what we might apply to our own dollars. And so staff provides copious amounts of technical guidance before, during, and throughout the award process on how to navigate that, how we can stay legal, achieve your outcome, and the least amount of BS, but there's still a lot of it. So, and unfortunately, those are the strings that come with the federal funding. Your broader question, is it possible? Yes. Is it recommended? No, because to go to kind of an all call of what would you do with these dollars, let's say maybe for rental assistance, is going to be much more time inclusive, and more importantly, you kind of get into strategy 2, which means that you're reinitiating the full contracting cycle, whereas strategy 1 is amending an existing award that is still open.
So I can do that with like a land trust?
You could,
or whoever is already
an
a partner.
existing awardee, if they wanted to propose that as part of their enhanced mission with additional funding, wanted to do some, we would certainly review it and explore it as we go.
That was my question.
Commissioner Thornton.
I'm going to follow up with Commissioner Taylor a little bit. I know the staff has their perception and planning, so I appreciate all the work you do. But if there are things in the community that we think that staff is not aware of that could use some of these funds come available, how do we just tell you or talk to you? Yeah. Or do you already, or has your mind already been made?
No, to be clear, we have not engaged with our housing partners about what would happen with these funds. We feel like this conversation was much more important about the vision.
Okay.
So if you have ideas where as recommendations come back to you all, where you feel like it's important to carve out an award, which has been a common history with ARPA, certainly engaging with the manager's office and the attorney's office would be a key step, because we don't want to step out of federal compliance, especially in this environment. I would not recommend it, but I understand why you might do it.
Commissioner Myers.
Hi, listen, I got our clerk's office to do a great job for me and print out some of these charts at the end because they were really helpful. And I'm going to highlight a really good example of what I find really helpful and wish I had it for everything that was laid out this way, because what I'm seeing from HCD back in attachment 4 is a chart that lays out 21 different grantees and the money that's involved. And then it's followed up by another chart, and I know Commissioner Thornton next to me will like this, that has notes on the outcomes. And I find that really helpful. There's another one from the economic development, and I know those programs just started recently, but it would be good to have some updates on that. The thing that I'll put this in a positive way, that I would prefer to have information likewise in format is for like the Boys and Girls Club DPI initiative. In there, it just says like, oh yeah, and they gave a lot of money to all these programs, but we don't have how much money they got, how much did they use, and what the outcomes are. And it would be really helpful, transparent to the community, to us, to feel going forward on that. And I think the same thing is on the Athens Chamber of Commerce, because they have a lot of sub-grantees, and so they're the ones that were funded through the task force that Commissioner Taylor and I co-chaired, and they're listed separately, but the Athens Chamber just has a large amount, and it's not broken down. So I'd like to see it all in this nice, wonderful format, so we know where all those millions and millions of dollars went, and that we can carry them, and show the public where it all went.
Yeah, and I think Melinda has already kind of gathered that, and we'll be able to put that in that same format, I believe, is what we
Yeah.
talked about. So,
Yeah.
Commissioner Thornton.
And one more thing that would be helpful, Athens Chamber is also, is it Athens Achieve?
Yeah.
Achieve Athens? I just think either you need to put Athens Achieve in parentheses and let everybody know that this really is the chamber. Because when I look, I'm like, Athens Achieve, but that's the logo they're using. They're not using the Athens Chamber, they're using Athens Achieve. So I think we all should be speaking the same language.
Commissioner Taylor.
Last time, I promise.
Indeed.
I had a conversation, and I'm just repeating myself from a previous meeting, but with Advantage, me and Evan spoke about a possible amendment for the funds that they received. It wasn't the task for, it wasn't the crisis response team, but it might have been that team, but that team pulled residents out of like outside and put them inside. And we talked about amending it, that families who were facing eviction, even if they're not outside, that they would still be able to get the funds. And I wish I could say that a lot smarter, but for whatever.
So you're asking about
Yeah.
somewhat of a change of
It's not
scope
a-
of the
it's not
already
a
awarded
voucher.
funds.
It would just be
It was going to
like-
be a special
And then-
permit thing, and you were going to talk to
Andrew could probably talk
Nikki
about that as it pertains to kind of these questions.
Sure. we can double check with Melinda. While I've heard that discussed, it's really reallocating some of the emergency funds to address unsheltered homelessness to be more on the rental support front to prevent homelessness. And so I had those same conversations myself with Advantage. At the time, the ask was, can we administratively do that? And the answer is no. We have to enforce the scopes and contracts approved by the commission. However, we did tell them, if you have a formal request of the commission you'd like to make, we could relay it. So Melinda, has there been any further conversation about a change in scope for Advantage?
No, we haven't received any formal request to change any scope of work. We've only had 2, and both of those have come in front of you in the past. And that would be, they have 2 homeless ARPA contracts. So I think they're talking about their encampment street outreach is connected to their street outreach contract. I think Evan and I have had a conversation about it, but again, there's been no formal request to put it in front of you to actually change the scope of work from what it is.
Well, that's fine, and I mean, maybe those funds are going to what they were intended to go originally, and so there was no need to amend it, so.
It's specifically designed to assist people on the streets, to get them off the streets into shelter and housing. So if they expand that scope of work, then it takes it from all street homeless to potentially people that aren't on the streets but are still, per definition, considered homeless.
So if we get to a point where we have to recapture the funds, then it's just like up to us where those funds will go to?
Yes.
Oh, well, I'll be quiet until the end. Hopefully not, forgive me, Jesus. Hopefully they'll be able to spend those for us.
I think
Well, we hope they all
our
can.
homeless flex fund is doing action like you're talking about.
Okay.
We do have 2, you mentioned eviction or helping with rent. We do have 2 active diversion programs that can assist with eviction prevention, and that's Family Promise of Athens is doing their diversion, and the Homeless Coalition, Athens Homeless Coalition, is about to get their diversion program up and running. So we will have 2.
Okay, well, we need to make sure we get some money back to Family Promise. They do a great job with housing families as well. We want to make sure our people are not on the street, Bob and Andrew, my girl Sarah.
Thanks, Commissioner. Thanks, Melinda. Appreciate it.
That was my last.
All right, one item left. Number 20, this is an ordinance to amend the fee schedule for the public utilities trash setup fee. Very exciting stuff. Everybody okay with consent on that?
Yeah.
20 is consent. All right, motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, we stand adjourned.